Technical writer Marcia Baird is suing 35-year-old truck driver Stephen Schwartz for an accident involving his van. Stephen says his vehicle had been stolen and he shouldn't have to pay.
Order. All rise. Yes, case number 584 on the calendar in the matter of Byrd versus Schwartz. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Baird, your car was parked in your driveway?
No, in front of my house.
And you were awakened by a crash?
Yes. The way I see this whole thing...
Oh, no, just pay attention to what
Yes.
I say. You were awakened by a crash. You looked outside. You saw that another car, had a van or something, had hit your car.
A white van had crashed into my truck.
And as it turns out, that white van had been stolen.
Yes.
And that was your car.
Yes.
And that was stolen from in front of your house.
Yes, in my driveway.
In your driveway. And it had been stolen that night?
At 6 o'clock in the morning.
And this crash occurred at what time?
6 o'clock in the morning, so it had to have been stolen before then.
So within a relatively brief period
10
of time.
minutes.
10 minutes. And your car was severely damaged. You had
5,000.
insurance that paid for the damage with the exception of your deductible, which is $1,000. And you believe that the defendant, whose car had been stolen from his driveway, is responsible for paying your $1,000 deductible.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Okay, that's what this case is about. Now, you got it?
I got it.
Good. Now, you want to tell me why?
Mr. Schwartz, a total stranger to me, left his keys in his van and went to bed at night. This is an irresponsible act. I would never leave my keys in my car and go to bed at night. Mr. Schwartz and I also have the same insurance company, and attached to my insurance policy there's a little letter that says, in order to avoid loss or theft, here are some tips, things you can do to prevent that. And one of the things is do not leave your keys in your car. I believe his negligence caused me, a total stranger, to be out $1,000. And I brought my witness because she helped Mr. Schwartz search the neighborhood for his keys. He had thought that they took the keys when they left the van. They couldn't drive away because the van was still attached to my truck.
Just a second. When the police came to the scene, were their keys recovered from the van?
No.
Okay. When the van hit your car, did the thieves get out of the van?
My neighbor, Kathy, saw the whole thing, and she can explain what she
Okay.
saw.
Kathy, what's your last name?
McNamee.
Did you actually see the van hit the car?
Yes.
And what did you see next?
Well, I was in my home, and it was the morning of February the 18th, and it was approximately 6:10 in the morning. I was looking out the window and saw a van coming slowly up the street. Shortly after that, it had hit Marcia's truck, and immediately after it hit the truck, both the passenger and the driver's door opened up, and the criminals bailed out and took off running. And at that time, I called the police, and shortly after there, they arrived on the scene.
Now, Ms. Baird said something about you searching with the defendant for keys.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
When Mr. Schwartz arrived on the scene, he was concerned. He had said to me that there were house keys on the keychain, and I had told him that I had seen the criminals bail out of the van and run, and I could walk off, as far as I could see the path that they ran in. I walked off with him and looked for the keys, but we were unsuccessful in finding them.
Okay. Now I'll hear you. You parked your car when?
The evening before I got home, and
At what time, Mr. Schwartz?
7 or 8. My daughter, who's 18 months old, was getting ill at the time in the back seat. So I ran around the vehicle to get her out because she was vomiting, and ran her into the house. And I'm not sure if I left them in the ignition or when I unbuckled her from the seat because she was in a child seat. And then after taking care of her, I forgot to go back out and get the keys because it wasn't on my mind. Then the next thing I know, I got a call at 6:15 that my vehicle had been in an accident.
How did you get into the house without your keys?
Garage door.
Okay.
Your Honor, there's something he
Just
said
a minute,
that-
just wait a second. He's not finished yet. Don't interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay, and the police came to my house and they said my vehicle was in an accident. I immediately got dressed, went to the accident scene, met them. I did search for my keys there. I know she's a victim, but I think there's two victims here. I did not ask these people to steal my vehicle. You know, if someone wants to steal something, they're going to get it no matter what. I, too, lost big time in this because they totaled my van. The insurance company didn't pay for it because they said I did not give them permission to drive the van, whatever that meant. And that's why they didn't pay her deductible. And I got a whopping $25 for the van after it was released from the impound. And I have pictures that it was a nice vehicle.
Your Honor, there's something he said that isn't the same as what he told me when he came down to look at the vehicles. He told me that he left his keys in the van because he lives on the top of a hill, you know, and not next to a bunch of houses or right on the street, and that he thought that nobody would come up the drive. So it isn't like, I never heard about a vomiting daughter. It was more like, oh, I do this. This isn't the first time I've done this. I do it because I sit on the top of a hill and I don't think anybody will come up.
Ms. Baird, when I read your papers, I was trying to think of an analogy for you. While it's always smarter to take your keys out of your car and lock your car, I mean, that's a smart thing to do. There are some people who leave their doors open in their car because they would prefer that if somebody wanted to get into their car, they not break a window. They just are able to open the door. I mean, I've heard that rationale, especially people who have convertibles. They say, they want to get into my car to steal something that's in the car. I would rather have them not slash the convertible top. I'd rather them just be able to open the door.
But that
it's
wasn't...
usually smarter, however, smarter, not the law, to take your keys from your vehicle, right?
His rationale was not what you just said, though. I understand that rationale of
No.
people saying, I don't want him to break in, so...
Just a second. No, I'm getting
All right.
someplace with
All
you.
right.
Let us say you live in an area where you don't lock your house. And most people, when they go to bed, go in, lock the door because they want to be protected as best they can when they're in the house. But there are some people who live in either a rural area or live in an area that's relatively crime-free that say, I'm going to leave my front door open. Let's say a burglar comes into your house, takes a bunch of things, and among the things that the burglar takes is a large kitchen knife. And as they're coming out, one of the neighbors comes across and says, what are you doing? And they take the kitchen knife and they stab them. Are you responsible because you left your door open? Are you responsible because you left your door open? But for the fact that you left your door open, this burglar would not have gone into your house, taken the kitchen knife, and had a vehicle, a weapon to cause you injury.
I'm not sure that's a fair analogy because you're talking about personal injury versus monetary damage to a vehicle.
Oh, no, you're talking about the same theory. You're talking about somebody that hasn't done anything illegal. If he had done something illegal, that would be a different story.
It's illegal.
He did something that was perhaps imprudent, the same kind of imprudence that one would think you would be guilty of if you leave your house open. But do you think that the victim of that stabbing could turn around and sue the homeowner? But for the homeowner's action in leaving his door open, which is really your theory, but for Mr. Schwartz's action in leaving his keys in the car, the thieves might not have taken his car, because certainly if they're car thieves, they know how to hotwire a car. If that's his car they wanted, and if it was deserted area, they might have hotwired his car. But for the fact that the front door is open, burglar wouldn't have gone inside? Probably not. Would have picked the lock. But your theory is, but for his negligent action, the thieves would not have had the vehicle to cause you property injury. But the law says that there is an intervening act, Ms. Baird.
I personally would never leave my keys in my car and go to bed at night, nor would I leave my door open when I went to bed at night.
Absolutely right. But the theory of your case is, but for his actions, the property injury would not have happened. But the intervening criminal act over which he has no control, I believe, negates any possibility for you to recover your $1,000 deductible.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
We do not know that these criminals were professional car thieves that know how to hotwire a car. They never arrested these people. They couldn't get good fingerprints. We don't know who they were.
Absolutely
It could have been kids who have no knowledge of how to hotwire a car.
You're absolutely right.
And were looking for a car with keys in it and found one. And that's the only reason they were able to take that car and come down and crash into my truck and cause me, a total stranger, to be out $1,000, which I cannot afford. I'm behind on my car payments because I can't afford that $1,000.
I understand that. But that does not mean that both of you are not victims of a crime. He may have exposed himself by allowing his keys to be in the car. But I might add that his keys were not found in the ignition, and it really is very odd to me, quite frankly, that once this crash took place, that the people who took the car stopped even a second to turn off the engine, pull out the keys before they ran out. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me. There were certainly no keys found in the ignition. So what I'm telling you, Ms. Baird, is that's why they have funds for victims of crime. You were a crime victim. He was a crime victim. It wasn't smart that he left his keys in the car. Well, we honestly don't even know whether the fact that he left the keys in the car aided and abetted these car thieves.
Is there another avenue for a victim to go through to recover from their loss?
Well, there are crime victims' compensation boards to compensate monetarily victims of crime who've suffered a financial loss. Might you use that as a way of getting back your $1,000? Absolutely. But I just want to take a quick look at the pictures of the cars before I send you on your way.
Okay, I don't have pictures.
They totaled your van?
Yes.
Looks perfectly fine to me. Okay, the Crime Victims Compensation Board is a possibility, Miss Baird. Mr. Schwartz is not. That's all. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's how I thought it would come out.
I'm totally surprised. I thought she would rule in my favor.
I was the victim, too.
He committed an act. He deserves what he gets. I did nothing.
And now the next case.
All parties on Woodall versus Rogers. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student service advisor Kayla Woodall is suing her former roommate, Sarah Rogers, for her share of an apartment lease and utility bills.
You two young ladies were friends, and you decided it was time to leave your parents' home and strike out on your own, so you rented an apartment together.
Yes.
How old are you?
20.
And you?
20.
How long had you been friends?
4 years, give or take.
And when did you move in?
July 5th, 2000.
Okay. And was it a year lease?
Yes.
And then there was trouble in paradise.
Yes.
Things didn't work out. Miss Rogers moved out.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kayla Woodall says former roommate Sarah Rogers owes for half an apartment lease. Sarah says she's already forfeited her share of the security deposit.
Okay. The thrust of your lawsuit is you want her to be responsible for the remainder of the lease after she moved out.
Correct.
When did she move out?
January 15th.
All right. So tell me under what circumstances she moved out.
Her and I had discussed a lot of times in the 6-month period about her paying rent and bills late and me having to track her down and find her when the due dates came about. So there'd been maybe 2 or 3 discussions about one of us needing to either move out or get on the ball with what was going on. We didn't really ever set a date or a time or a place on when this was going to happen. There was a lot of delaying, and I came home from work one day, and she had moved all of her belongings out of the house.
Well, what happened in the couple of days before that?
She said that her and her witness actually were looking for a place to live, and that, you know, hopefully something would be going through with it soon.
Okay, what did you say to her?
I said, you know, well, if that's what you're going to do, that's fine. You know, you do have a lease here, but it doesn't seem like you're really paying the bills like you should be, and if you're not going to be able to pay them, you're not going to do me much use. It's like dead weight. So I either need you to pay them or...
Move.
Right.
So that's what you did.
That's what she did.
Go ahead.
Well, I did move out on January 13th after we had made a mutual agreement that I would move out.
Tell me about that agreement.
We agreed that I would move out on the 15th because we were not getting along. I was paying my bills. They were not on time most of the time, but they were paid. Basically, the agreement was that I was going to be moving out on the 15th. I moved out 2 days before. I paid the whole month's rent for the month of January.
Did you both put down security deposit on the apartment?
Yes.
How much?
Mine was, I think, $450.
Did you get that back?
No.
Okay,
I have
so-
forfeited my security deposit in order to be gone from the apartment.
What do you mean you forfeited it? Who did you forfeit it with? Her or
just-
the landlord?
the property management.
Did you sign off on with the property manager?
I wrote them a letter when I moved out saying that they could keep my security and I was not going to be living at the address anymore.
Well, they don't get to keep your security. The security, if the apartment's in good condition, is going to go back to the people who leased the apartment. In that case, you will get her portion of the security deposit back.
It was $400 deposit, $200 from each of us.
So you didn't put down $450, you put down $200?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay. Did your boyfriend move into the apartment?
He is kind of living there. We are not really trying to live together.
Miss Woodall.
I haven't had many options of people to move in with me.
Miss Woodall?
Yes.
When did your boyfriend bring his toothbrush after the 15th of January?
About a half a month ago, he's moved in, but has not taken full financial responsibility.
That's your problem.
That may be.
Good. So what are we doing here? I believe that there was an agreement that she move out, because even according to you, Miss Woodall, you said, look, one of us has to move. She said she'll move out. Clearly, there was an agreement that she moved out.
It wasn't really that simple. In order for us to get this apartment, the one-year lease, one of our parents had to co-sign. My father opted to do so. So it was only natural for her to move out versus me. This was not something I wanted. I did not want her to move out.
Fine, so it was natural for her to move out if you weren't getting along rather than you, because your father was the guarantor on the lease.
Right.
Well, why don't you have your father have a little discussion with your boyfriend?
Well, because it's not his responsibility.
No, it's yours. It's yours.
You're right.
If you moved in a boyfriend who's not paying his fair share, instead of looking for another roommate who might pay their fair share, that's not her fault.
I didn't say I moved him in. He has stayed even when she was living there. You know, he sleeps
You just
over
told me
and
he
things like
moved
that.
in. You just told me 2 seconds ago, Miss Woodall, that he moved in, but he did.
duration of the time since she's moved out.
You just told me he moved in, but he hasn't taken on the financial responsibility. Those were your exact words.
Right.
That's not her fault. That's your fault.
I'm not trying to blame her for that.
So?
I'm looking for compensation. She's left me in a financial hardship.
I understand your financial hardship. Your financial hardship would be ameliorated if you found yourself a roommate who would pay half of the rent. She's not going to pay half the rent. Forget that. What other bills does she owe you?
I have PG&E and SMUD here.
How much do all those bills total?
$280. It may be $230. I'm doing the math in my head.
Just about the same amount as her security deposit.
Yes, it's close to.
Perfect. So make sure you and your boyfriend keep the apartment in good shape so that when you move out, you're going to keep the security deposit, her half.
Okay.
Perfect. Case is over. Goodbye.
Parties are excused.
33-year-old electrician Alan Falk is suing his ex-fiancée, 49-year-old casino floor employee Lori Price Bars, for the return of an engagement ring and for the money to get a divorce.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 42 on the calendar in the matter of Falk versus Price Bars. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Falk, you and the defendant lived together for 5 years, became engaged. That relationship terminated. You want your engagement ring back.
Yes, ma'am.
You want money that you claim to have loaned her so that she could obtain an attorney to get a divorce. And you want your dog back.
Well, that would be nice, yes.
Listen, let's eliminate what you really don't want. You want the dog or not?
I'm going to let her have the dog.
Perfect. See how easily we can pare down a lawsuit. Okay. So you want your ring back and your money back.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says that the ring, while it was originally an engagement ring, turned out not to be an engagement ring. Anyway, let's get to it. When did you start to live together?
About late November 1995.
And when did the relationship terminate?
November of 2000.
When did you purchase this engagement ring?
In 1996, Your Honor, 11/19 of 96. Original price on it was $3,570. I have all receipts, etc. here for you. Could I submit all this at this time? It's all the evidences, photographs, and everything to back any claim I'm going to be making, Your Honor.
Okay. Now tell me about the loan for the lawyer.
Well, Miss Price and I got together, and she decided, well, she had told me that she left her ex-husband. She wanted to divorce him. She wanted to get together with me. I said, fine. I'll loan you the money for the lawyer, just pay me back. Well, I never got paid back.
When did you loan her the money for the lawyer?
The receipt is in there. I believe it was in 1996 and 97. It would be right here. The original charge was made on 12/18 of 97.
And you continued to live together, sir, for 3 years after that.
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you give her for the lawyer?
The total amount ended up being $1,030, including finance charges, et cetera, et cetera.
What was the amount without the finance charges, sir?
$835, Your Honor.
And for the time that you lived together, Mr. Falk, the 3 years that you lived together after that, how many times did you bring up this $835 that you
We
loaned
fought
her?
about it a bunch of times.
That's a lie.
Tell me about that.
Well, I just told her it wasn't fair. I'm paying all the bills here. She wouldn't contribute to anything for the house, for any of the bills, for anything that she was, was getting. She wouldn't contribute to anything. I says, look, you've got to pay your own way for this stuff. Your ex-husband should have paid for his own divorce. That was between you and him. Why did I have to pay for it? I agreed to loan
So
you
you
the
fought
money.
over money. No, Mr. Falk, you're not following me, sir. You fought over money, but not in the 3 years, over specifically.
Yes, we
this
fought
800
specifically over that.
When was she
several times.
supposed to pay you back this $835?
She said she'd start paying me back every week out of her check, and I've yet to see anything for it.
So, Mr. Falk, 3 years went by, is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me ask you this question. Your last name is now Bars?
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
married?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Where's the engagement ring?
Actually,
Actually is
Okay.
not an answer. I want to know where the engagement ring is now.
I do not know. It could be in storage. He packed my stuff when I moved out. I'm missing 2 rings. I'm assuming they're in the storage box, which I can't get to because our place is very small. All my clothes, everything is in storage.
I don't believe you. Let me explain
Okay.
why. I don't believe you. Because if you are being sued for the return of a piece of property, then you go to the storage unit and you look for boxes. Now, I have moved several times.
Mm-hmm.
I put books in storage. I put pictures in storage. I put blankets in storage. I don't put jewelry in storage. However, if you believed that this ring was actually in storage and you wanted to give it back to him,
No, I didn't.
oh, that's a different story.
Yes.
That's a different story. Now, you explain why you don't believe you have to return it to him, because I don't believe that you don't know where it is in storage.
Okay.
All right, good.
Okay, the ring, like he said, was purchased in November. I didn't know he got it. It was presented to me Christmas morning as a Christmas gift. We had decided to use that as an engagement ring. Subsequently, that was...
What do you mean you had decided to use it as an engagement ring? What did the ring look like?
It's a gold band with paved diamonds. It's very pretty. And subsequently, we had decided not to get married. And the ring was never asked for back to be returned. I always had it. I was kicked out once. He asked for it back. I gave it to him. He gave it back to me. At this point, I didn't consider it. It was just a pretty ring, not an engagement ring.
You met someone else, according to what I've read from your answer. You met someone else at your job.
Yes.
And that's the reason that your relationship with Mr. Falk terminated.
Mainly, yes.
And you subsequently married. I assume this is your husband.
Yes, it is.
Then the right thing to do is to return this ring that he purchased and that you had originally determined was an engagement ring. That's the right thing to do.
Okay, Your Honor, the reason that I was not going to, had a phone call in which my husband was a witness. He talked to him from Mr. Falk calling me, telling me if I would give him one of the dogs, he would drop the whole thing. If I would not give up one of the dogs, that this was just the beginning. That's word for word what he said, and my husband heard it.
Did you give him back one of the dogs?
No, they're both my dogs.
Okay.
No, not.
So let us assume that he said that to you, either the ring or the dog. Now, if you could have established that to my satisfaction and you did, in fact, give him back the dog, well, then that was a quid pro quo.
Yeah.
He would have accepted it if I believed that.
Right.
But you didn't give him back the dog.
No.
So it's clear from what you just said to me that he considered this an engagement ring that he wanted back.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alan Falk says ex-fiancée Lori Price Bars won't return the engagement ring. Alan also says he paid for Lori's divorce.
Let me ask you this question. Over the 5 years that you were together, did Mr. Falk buy you other pieces of jewelry?
Yes.
Give me an example.
A gold anklet
Okay.
and pair of earrings,
Okay.
and that was it.
And
What else? What else, Mr. Falk?
tennis bracelets, a diamond necklace. There were 2 sets of earrings.
No, there weren't.
I don't know where else. I've got the receipts for all of it.
Mr. Falk.
I have receipts for all of it, ma'am.
You see-
Furthermore, may I interject one thing? She said she had no knowledge of the ring. I'd like to let it known right now, she picked out the ring at Zales Jewelers at Meadows Mall in Las Vegas, Nevada. She picked out the ring.
No, I picked it out. I didn't know he bought it until I got it Christmas
You
morning.
knew we bought it because I
Mr.
made
Falk,
an
don't talk-
$800 down
Mr.
payment
Falk,
on it.
Mr. Falk, don't speak to her, sir.
I'm sorry.
Ms. Bars, what he hasn't done is he hasn't asked for any of this other jewelry back. Did you give him the other jewelry back?
No.
Because those, he understands, were gifts.
Right.
But this ring that he purchased, that you acknowledge was at some point, may have been presented to you at Christmas time, but at that time, you decided to get married. That was the intention when he gave you the ring.
Right.
According to my logic, an engagement ring is given in contemplation of marriage. If the marriage does not take place, the eventuality of the contract is not realized, and the ring goes back to the person who gave it.
Okay, even with him kicking me out several times and never asking for it back?
But you came back.
Well, he didn't
But
know
you
I was
came-
going to.
But you came
Yeah,
back.
okay, gotcha.
Lovers have quarrels. That's what happens. And the right thing to do is to return the ring to him. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Do you have the ring?
No, I'll go through storage. I'm assuming it's in the storage.
Okay. Mr. Falk, I want you to pay careful attention to what my ruling is. I believe that you are absolutely entitled to the return of this ring. And you paid $3,570 for it.
Correct.
The fact that you put it on layaway and may be paying it off and still paying it off,
No.
that's not her problem. That's your problem. If you buy an engagement ring, you pay for it right up front. Otherwise, you're still paying for something, and you may turn out to be not too happy with it a couple of years down the road. So Ms. Bars is going to have 5 days from today's date to locate the ring. If she does not, court will enter judgment in your favor in the amount of $3,570. However, I do not believe that there was a formal agreement between the two of you for this 1997 loan of $835 for the attorney. I believe that in the course of living together, you decided that she should formalize her situation. You paid the lawyer $835. And for the next 3 years you lived together, and you may have fought over money, all sorts of money. Money for rent, money for household, money for living, money for insurance, money for cars, general money, where she was not contributing to the household. But there was never any agreement, I don't believe, between the two of you that she was going to repay you in any formalized way this amount of $835 for the lawyer. I assume you ultimately got your divorce.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Hope so.
So I am entering that judgment for you, sir. Either 5 days you get the ring back, or the court will enter the judgment for $3,570. Thank you, that's all.
Excuse me,
Thank
you
you.
may step out.
Miss Price is a liar. She slept behind my back for the last year with other people.
When he found out that I married Joe as the first time, he asked for the ring back.
She's done nothing but use and abuse and lie to me our entire relationship.
I'm just going to stay with him. I trust him.
And now the next case.
All parties on Sandoval versus Lopez. Step forward, please.
32-year-old beer vendor Rudy Sandoval is suing his ex-fiancée, 31-year-old store manager Hortensia Lopez, for credit card charges. Hortensia says the charges have been paid and the money came from a joint account.
Mr. Sandoval, how long were you and the defendant involved in a relationship?
Approximately about 1 year.
How long did you live together?
About 11 months, 11 and a half months.
All right, so you moved in shortly after you met.
That's correct.
Did she move into your house?
I moved into her house, to her apartment.
About what point in the relationship did you have this joint credit card, which is a big no-no?
December of '99,
And you lived together until when?
November 19th of
2000.
2000.
It is your claim, Mr. Sandoval, that at the time that you separated, and I assume you moved out of her house.
No, Your Honor, we purchased a home in July of 2000.
In whose name?
Both our names are on the house.
It is your claim that she owes you for some credit card purchases on the MasterCard that you jointly had. Not a stupendous amount of money considering the other major purchases that you indulged in, $517.74. You have your statement?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please? By the way, while you're looking for that, what's happening with the house that you jointly own?
We're in the process of selling it.
That's correct. Your Honor, with the house issue, we own the house together. She did not pay a dime on the house. She basically left other bills, you know, gas bills, light bills that she did not pay on. We had a joint checking account together. She had an insurance payment withdrawal monthly out of that checking account. Well, she no longer contributed any money after October, and basically it's the same issue here with the credit card issue.
Were you putting money into a joint account?
Yes, we were.
Yes.
And out of that money, Mr. Sandoval, bills were being paid, I assume, by check.
That is correct.
Who was paying the bills?
I was.
Both.
I mean, who was physically writing out the checks?
I was, Your Honor.
And when you physically wrote out the checks, you determined how much you were going to pay towards each bill that you had. Is that right?
That is correct.
And on this account, the charges, and I assume the charges that you're attributing to Ms. Lopez, have stars on them.
That is correct, Your Honor.
And they start in August of 2000.
That is correct.
And it is clear to me that you were paying not the entire bill as each bill came due, but you were paying certain minimums
That is correct.
on the credit card, right?
That is correct.
And you, sir, were making a determination of how much of the joint monies went to pay this bill.
That is correct.
Now, you don't expect me to go back to August of 2000 and say, well, you decided to pay the minimum payment, $77 or $85 or $100 on all these charges. So you allocated that money. And you expect me to figure out whether you made correct allocations and therefore she owes you percentages of this? You expect me to do that? Don't get it. Okay. Up until what time were you both contributing money to the bank account?
November. I have record of that.
Let me see, please.
Your Honor, so what you're
This
saying...
is for the full year. I was putting my income into the account until November, the last time he took my credit cards
Okay, just a
and
second.
cell phone
Second.
from
I
me.
just want to see the... Would you just ask her to show me? Don't give
I'm
me
sorry.
this whole thing. You know, I have
I'm
limited
sorry.
patience and I'm old. I don't have that many years. Just show me the
last-
deposit that you made in November.
Your Honor, can I say something?
No, don't wait until she gives me the piece of paper and then Byrd takes his position. Then everything is orderly. I like orderly. Okay. Okay. So now you understand my position, sir. You have an ongoing balance here.
That is correct.
Right.
It's a joint...
It may be a joint account, but you made the determination as to how much was paid out of that joint account towards these bills. And you want her to reimburse you for all of these purchases. So what you're expecting a judge to do is to determine whether or not you made the proper allocation of your joint monies in paying this MasterCard. All right? How much were you putting in the account in, let's say, August, July and August?
About $2,000, a little bit under $2,000 a month.
$2,000 a month. And how much were you putting in the account, sir?
Close to $4,000. So if you kind of put all that money there, if you split everything in half, I was contributing more than...
You may have been.
And I'm not...
You may have been contributing more. What I'm saying to you is there are rules of law that are applicable to people who are married. That is, if you are in a community property state, you have joint debts. Courts go through the papers. They say this is what you own as a couple, as a married couple. This is what the marital debt is. We will separate the marital debt. We will separate the marital asset. Each one of you gets half. Goodbye and good luck. What you are suggesting, sir, is that I take a look at your finances that go back a year and determine whether it was fair for you to allocate so much money towards this account, or could you have paid off this account, paid off so that there wouldn't be, by the time you separated in November, any balance at all. I'm telling you, if she had purchased things that she did not pay for and you had a current balance on this MasterCard, I would say, madam, you are absolutely responsible for those charges that you made. But I do not plan to be your accountant. Do you understand?
I understand.
Good. Goodbye.
Parties are excused.
Pharmaceutical salesperson Barbara Loving is suing her ex-boyfriend, 46-year-old software support technician Michael Allen, for the payoff on a car.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 490 on the calendar in the matter of Loving versus Allen. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Don't you watch my courtroom often?
Always.
If you watched it always, you would learn you never co-sign a loan for a car
One
for
of
anybody.
2 major bad decisions, I totally admit to.
Okay. Ms. Loving, according to your complaint, you and Mr. Allen were dating for a while, and he was looking around for a new car, and you agreed to co-sign a loan for him because he couldn't get the car on his own. So far, is that correct?
Actually, Your Honor, we were living together at the time.
Second mistake.
She said there were 2 mistakes. Mr. Allen, is it correct that you needed a car and she agreed to co-sign for a loan on a car for you?
Yes.
And the relationship didn't work out, you broke up. According to you, Mr. Allen said he was not going to pay for the car anymore. Is that right?
Correct. He basically dumped it on me.
Okay. What I didn't quite get from the papers is who has the car?
The car has been sold.
Under what circumstances was the car sold? Was it repossessed?
No, thank goodness, because I decided to preserve my credit rating. Mike doesn't care much about his. But I sold it so that I could pay off the balance of the car, and in the process suffered a loss of $5,070.
All right. When did you purchase this car, sir?
In February of last year.
And were you still living together in February?
Yes, we were.
Until when did you live together?
So late August, early September of last year.
September 12th.
You can always rely on the gal to remember the date. 9/12. Emblazoned in your memory.
I will never forget that day.
Okay. And when you left, sir, did you take the car?
No, I did not.
You left it there.
I did. In fact, she requested on the 11th that I leave the car there. She was going to take it to the dealer, and basically, as far as she was aware, I was going to be without a vehicle.
I don't care about whether you say she knew you were going to be without a vehicle and she was being cruel and mean. You left the car there on September 12th.
That's
when you
correct.
left. Did you ever drive the car again?
I did not.
Is that correct?
Your Honor, he in no way was going to assume responsibility for this car. He is a total deadbeat, among other things,
If you
besides
wanna
his car.
insult
No, just a second.
And-
Don't speak to her. When
And
you
I'll
say-
tell you that I was more than generous when this breakup occurred because I offered him several options with this car and he denied all of them. Number one option, when we broke up in September, I felt compassionate toward him because his place was rented at the time until the following June. I told Mike he could stay in my home rent-free until the following June so that he
And that
would
was
have
a real comfortable situation.
Just 1 second.
so that he would have the time to save up a little bit of extra money. I also told him when he left, I would supply him with a sofa and a bed and numerous other things. I also let him drive this car around while he was looking for another car to purchase because he in no way was going to assume responsibility for this car.
Well, how did you know that? That's
because
that's
he
an
told
issue.
me. He
Well,
said, I am no longer going to pay.
When did he tell you that he was no longer going to pay for the car?
September 2nd. September 1st, we had a discussion of why the relationship wasn't working out. I told him, I said, Mike, I've seen a lot of things since you moved in January. Number one, you
Don't
have...
don't tell me what they were.
But anyhow, I told him all the reasons why, and I thought we could work it out. The next day, he came to me and said that he was no longer going to pay for this car. I said, well, what does that mean? And he says, I'm not going to make any more payments. I can't afford it. The following day,
Just 1 second.
Okay.
Does that sound familiar, sir?
Almost.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, the following day, my son visited, and he and Mike and I had a conversation, and my son asked Mike to step to the plate and be a man, which I guess he's incapable of.
Don't editorialize.
Okay. But he asked him to step to the plate and assume responsibility for this vehicle. The only reason why I co-signed was because Mike had a terrible credit rating, and I was going to save him money on his finance charge. And that was the reason I co-signed for him. I'm a generous person by nature, and I learned my lesson.
That's editorializing.
Okay.
All right, you did it.
My son tried to shame Mike into taking responsibility. Mike's only defense at that time was to say, I know this is my responsibility, but I can't afford it. And that was his defense. I can't afford it.
That's not quite accurate, Your Honor.
Well, let me hear, sir. I see what you wrote in your answer. So let's see what your testimony is.
Okay. In actuality, to look at this, and she mentioned the verbal agreement, you have to, Your Honor, look at that agreement in its totality and apply all of the terms and not just some of the terms of the agreement.
Well, tell me.
That agreement did include, you know, because of the fact when I moved in with her, we both had mortgages. So, you know, there was money going out. We decided it was going to rent my place so that, you know, things could be easily afforded, we could have expenses covered, and so on. At the time that she suggested that I look at getting a better car than what I was looking at and made this offer, I told her very clearly, as soon as the offer was made, that there was only one way that I could afford the payments like this, and that is assuming that the relationship continues and the financial agreements that we have for the duration of that loan. And I laughingly at the time said, you know, that means that you're kind of stuck with me for a long time. Her response to that, Your Honor, was that I know that, and I have no problem with that. And we went forward from there. That response was the key to this agreement ever taking place.
Okay, now I have a couple of questions for you, Mr. Allen. If I understand you correctly, what you're saying is you were lulled into buying a more expensive car with a more expensive monthly payment. And the condition of that was that you would be a couple together because the only way that you could afford this more expensive car is if you were living in the kind of relationship you were living in now and sharing expenses. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. But then, according to Miss Loving offered you a proposition. And the proposition was that she would pay off the car, put it on her credit card, and you would have a minimal monthly payment to make to her, not to the finance company, because that would ruin her credit in case there was a problem, until the car was paid off. Did you, in fact, make that offer?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and what was Mr. Allen's response?
He said, absolutely not.
Okay. Now, that's what I have a problem with, Mr. Allen.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Barbara Loving says ex-boyfriend Michael Allen owes for the payoff on a car. Michael says she breached the contract by breaking up with him.
Tell me, did she offer to put the entire car note on her credit card?
No, she did not.
You just told me that you
No,
did.
there was a misunderstanding. I wanted to sell the car. The loss on the car was $5,000. I was going to put the $5,000 on a credit card and have him be responsible for paying.
Oh, that I can understand them not wanting to do.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, that I can understand. I thought if you
but-
put the whole thing on your credit card, then if he was paying $200 a month, driving the car.
Your Honor, Mike.
Had that been the case, Your Honor, no problem.
So let me ask you this question, sir. Why didn't you suggest that?
That was not an option
No.
that
Why
was
didn't
put
you?
out because
She may not have said it. Why didn't you say it to her? Say, look, I don't have the cash right now. I can't afford a $400 a month note. If you want to put it on your credit card, I will sign a contract with you right now that I will be responsible to pay you $200 a month until this entire loan is paid off.
The reason that wasn't examined, Your Honor, was because of her reaction when I first approached her with the idea that given the breakup that she was initiating, I was not going to be able to, as we originally discussed, I was not going to be able to continue to afford the car. Her response to that was pretty much restricting any other options.
All right.
Basically,
Mr. Allen,
she was telling me,
all right,
get a second job.
All right, Mr. Allen, let's talk about being realistic and fair. What's supposed to happen in a courtroom is supposed to be a fair and just result. You drove this car for approximately 7 months. It was your vehicle, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You paid the car note on the car, I assume, for that entire 7-month period. Is that right?
That is correct, as well as the down payment and the trade
That's
that I
incorrect.
lost. And
Just a second. Did you put
Plus-
any money towards the down payment?
No, I didn't, but there was $7,000 in the cost of the car, which was the cost to pay off his old car. He made 5 payments. I made 3 payments before I sold the car. He did not make all of the payments.
I made
had
all
to
of
make
the
3
payments
while I
through
was selling
August,
it.
Your Honor.
And he's lying to
When
you.
Well,
the
just a
Your
second.
Honor.
If you made all the
ended.
payments through August, you didn't make September's payment.
That's correct.
And I don't know when the car was finally brought back to the dealership, but you certainly didn't make those payments. And she did.
That's correct.
Okay. What kind of car was this that you bought?
It was a Toyota RAV4.
And how much was the total purchase price?
I believe it was $23,000. I have the...
I have all the paperwork and the signatures if you want them, Your Honor.
Can I see them, please? And I also want to see the payout from the bank.
Okay.
Mr. Allen, what kind of work do you do, sir?
I am a software support technician.
This.
Did you move back to your home?
I did not. It's still rented. They have a lease until June.
He moved in with an old girlfriend.
Okay.
Excuse me?
I know.
He's got to move someplace.
She doesn't know you're
He
on.
thinks
That's
I'm
not-
stupid, but I'm
What,
not.
what difference does it make where
Okay.
he moved? You didn't want him with you.
You know, Your Honor.
You didn't want him with you.
That's right.
Who cares
Thank
where he
God.
moved? All right.
Your Honor, Mike lied to you, though. There was never, I mean, Mike goes through cars faster than a Vegas slot machine goes through dollars. I offered to help him with this car only to save him interest money. There was never, ever an agreement on my part, maybe in his mind, that we would stay together forever. But what fool guarantees they're going to stay in love forever? I certainly would never say that, ever.
Mr. Allen, have you been married before?
I have.
How many times?
Once.
Have you been married?
Yes.
How many times?
Twice.
So between the two of you, you had 3 failed marriages.
Yes. Your Honor, at the time the offer was made, I was initially very hesitant.
Mr. Allen, if you hesitated about obligating yourself to buy this car, you should have thought twice and not bought it.
That was the reason, Your Honor, why I stipulated that the only way I could do
Mr.
it
Allen,
is with the
you're not,
relationship
let me tell you
going.
something. If you were 18 years old standing where you are and she was a 35-year-old woman, I could understand that. You are a grown man. You are a homeowner. You are an intelligent man. So if what you're telling me is she coerced you into obligating yourself into buying a more expensive car, that's a pretty babyish thing to say.
She did not coerce me, Your Honor.
Well, that's what you're saying to me. You're
No,
saying
I'm
she...
saying that she made a verbal agreement with me.
No, she didn't.
Not.
No, she didn't. That's what you construe it as. She didn't make a verbal agreement with you to stay with you forever, and that's why you bought the Toyota RAV4. Give me a break. You still working, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you file tax returns yet this year?
Yes, I have.
And how much did you earn last year on your tax returns?
It was $35,000.
And you support no one but yourself.
That's correct.
What were your monthly car payments?
Right now,
No, what were they?
prior to the Toyota,
For the Toyota RAV4, what were they?
$435.
And how much do you receive as rent in the house that's currently rented?
$600.
$650.
$650, excuse me.
Women know everything. $650. And what's the mortgage payment?
It's $812.
So you're losing money on the rental.
That's correct.
How come?
That's part, Your Honor, of the agreements that we had.
Do you know the people that you rented to?
I do.
Okay. Who are they?
They are people that work at the same place that I do.
Okay. You planning on moving back into your house?
Probably after the end of the lease.
Okay. And where are you living now, sir?
I am living in a rented house.
Are you the lessee on the house?
I am.
How much rent do you pay?
I am paying.
Now look at me. Careful, because I check. I want to tell you, Mr. Allen, be careful, because I check. How much rent do you pay?
I am paying $350 a month.
How many other people live in the house?
2.
What's the total rent on the house?
Actually, I'll back up, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
The house is paid for, is a mortgage. I pay $350 to the person that owns the house.
So you pay $350 a month, maybe.
Plus you bought another car.
Now, you purchased another car, I assume.
Yes.
What kind of car did you purchase?
I have a Chevy Beretta, 89.
And how much did you pay for that, sir?
I believe was like $2,800. I'm doing that in payments.
And what are the amount of your payments?
$145.
So you're paying approximately, according to you, $300 less for this car that you're driving than for the RAV4.
That's correct.
Were you sharing expenses in the house with Miss Loving?
Yes.
And how much were you giving her each month?
What we agreed on was $250.
She says no.
Your Honor, January through June, he paid $0 while he was renting his place. He paid me 2, possibly 3 payments of $225. And to be honest with you, my grocery bills went up at least that much.
You're telling me that you gave her $250 a month towards the running of her home.
That's correct.
What did you do with all your money?
I do have other bills, Your Honor.
Like what?
I have from a vacation that I paid for completely in Colorado for a week.
Yes.
For us.
Yes.
That's on a credit card.
Okay.
There are about $1,300 that went on a credit card on when I was paying for all of the shipboard expenses on a cruise that we took.
Talk to me about vacations. I hear a lot about vacations.
I'd like to respond to that, too.
I want to know what you're doing with all your money, sir. You take care of yourself. If you tell me that you earn $35,000 a year in computers, you ain't doing something right, because everybody's earning a lot more in computers. Let's say you earn $35,000 a year after taxes. What are you doing with all your money?
That's before taxes, Your Honor.
Yeah. Is that what you reported to the government?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you ever do any freelance work?
I do not.
Never did any of that freelance work while you were with Miss Loving?
I did not.
Why not?
I do software support for very specific software. I don't have any kind of a degree in computer technology.
Neither does Bill Gates.
May I?
Go ahead.
The reason why he gets a low value on his rent is because it's a trailer, and that's about the maximum you could expect for renting a trailer. The day he was moving out, this man, who doesn't have 2 nickels to rub together, wanted to buy one of my digital cameras from me for $500. I couldn't believe it. It just told me how irresponsible he is.
Mr. Allen, the operative word here, sir, is responsibility. You're a grown man. Clearly, between the two of you, you know the pitfalls of marriage, and you know that sometimes relationships last and sometimes they don't. You wanted the best possible car that you could get. This lady, guaranteed, did not twist your arm, nor did she enter into what I would consider anywhere near a binding verbal agreement to stay together with you, at least until your car was paid off. I mean, that's what you're expecting me to believe, that she entered into a binding agreement to remain with you and you with her until the car was paid off. And if she did not do that, ergo, you are not responsible for the car. Now, she's out a substantial amount of money. She is suing you for $2,500. The amount that she's out far exceeds that. That was the maximum allowed in the jurisdiction from whence you came.
Correct.
So I'm entering a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Yes.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
23-year-old homemaker Marilyn Vasquez is suing her husband's ex-wife, 33-year-old public safety officer Linda Ricard, for assaulting her when she was 5 months pregnant.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 2 on the calendar in the matter of Vasquez versus Ricard. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Vasquez, according to your complaint, the defendant, who is the former wife of your present husband, assaulted you.
Yes, ma'am.
And she did this when you and your husband were returning the children after a period of visitation that you had with the children. Tell me what happened.
Well, as you already know, we had vacation with the children and we brought them back. I was unloading bike pieces that were in the car. My husband went upstairs, brought the first load up, and the children as well. And
how old are the children?
At the present time, they're 6 and 11.
Okay.
And during the vacation, the youngest was 5 years old. I had to spank her on the bum. One time I was combing her hair out. I pulled a nap and she started kicking at me. So I spanked her on the bum and I sent her to her dad. A little while later we talked about it. Till this day right now, she doesn't even remember if you asked her. So I look up, I'm taking the stuff out. Miss Ricard's in my face, calling me names. Within a blink of an eye, she attacked me. She grabbed my hair and continued to like swing. At that point, my husband tried to get in the middle, but as I said, her hand was caught in my hair, and she's a strong woman. So, and I was pregnant.
How much pregnant were you?
5 months. That was the first time we ever met face to face, actually. She grabbed my glasses off my face, and she tore my dress and started kicking. She kept kicking and kicking, and she finally got me. She got me on this side. I was 5 months pregnant, and she knew. She's like, you don't even know who your father of the baby is. I hope you lose your baby. And this is all happening in front of the children. She threw rocks at me.
Were you injured other than being struck in the stomach?
I had a scratch over here and a bruise on my side.
Did you see a doctor?
I went to after that whole mess, I went to the precinct. And at the precinct, they called me an EMS, emergency service, and they checked me there. At that time, I was cramping and spotting, and it was because of that.
Can I see the police report?
Sure. With that, I hand you the immediate order of protection they gave me.
Did you have a hearing on this application for an order of protection?
No, ma'am. Just recently, at the criminal court, the case was heard finally. Ms. Ricard had a witness that no one agreed upon, and they just let her go.
So what happened with that case? It was ultimately dismissed?
Yes, also because the judge did not want to get involved in the family issues. There are a lot of family issues involved here.
This matter was ultimately heard in the criminal court on charge of assault. Was there a trial?
Yes, there was a trial.
Was it a jury or a non-jury trial?
Non-jury.
Okay, let me hear your version of the events, Ms. Ricard.
My children came upstairs. I asked them how they were doing, but when they came through the door, I saw that my children had their hair cut and chemicals were put in their hair. It was relaxed. They came in, they said they had a good time. My little one said, "Mommy, she hit me." I said, "She hit you?" She said, "Yeah." I said, even after last weekend when I told her, don't put her hands on you or don't hit them with a comb, like my oldest one had told me the weekend before when I spoke to her on the phone, because she had been doing their hair and they didn't want her to do with their hair. So I went downstairs and I asked her, "What is this I hear about you hitting my kid?" She says, "I didn't hit your kid." I said, "Tiffany, did she hit you?" Tiffany said, "Yes." I said, "But on the phone last week when you picked up the other line, I told you not to touch my children." "I didn't touch your children, and you should teach your children more respect, and they don't have no manners." She stepped back, she took off her glasses and her sandals, threw her sandals at me, and stepped forward, and you should learn how to tell your children the truth and right things. And when she put her hand in my face, I defended myself by trying to push her away, and we got into a tussle. My neighbor and another neighbor from across the street.
Don't tell me who saw anything, madam, if they're not here.
Oh, okay. Well, I have his affidavit.
I'm not interested in an affidavit.
Okay.
I'm interested in
Well,
witnesses and common sense.
People around, neighbors broke it up, and I went upstairs.
Who do the children live with now?
Me.
They live with Anthony Polite.
They live with myself and my husband.
And how long have the children been living with you?
Since August
30th.
Was that as a result of a court order?
Yes, ma'am. I have all the papers.
I'd like to see them.
This is their order of protection on their mother, and this is the order.
Can I see it, please? All right. Ms. Ricard, I sat in the family court for a long time. I know enough to know that no family court judge transfers custody absent the showing of some special circumstance that requires in the children's best interest for that custody to be transferred. I'm not going into that now. What I am going to tell you is I think that, A, you didn't like her to begin with, even though you had never met her, but must have known from your children that she was pregnant and that she was going to soon marry your former husband. I assume you were not remarried at the time. Is that right?
No, I wasn't.
Then your children come home, and you see that while they were visiting with their father and soon-to-be stepmother, they did an outrageous thing by having their hair straightened, cut, whatever it was, because you talk about that in your papers. So you're furious at that. And then you continue to ask your children how things were, and your youngest child said that she had, in fact, spanked her. That further infuriated you. You come down there in a fury. You didn't approach her and say, could you please tell me what happened when you were there? I told you not to put your hands on her. You came down in a fury. They had usurped, in your judgment, maternal right and permed the hair, cut the hair, aside from the fact that you probably have a whole history with this man if there is a custody battle ongoing for years anyway. So you are not a happy camper, and you lost your temper. That's what happened. And you lost your temper and you assaulted her.
No, that's not what happened.
Oh, yes, I believe that because she wasn't angry with you. She wasn't angry with you.
I have a statement here where she told the judge, Anthony, her husband, told the criminal judge that she was mimicking me before I even got downstairs.
You have the transcript?
Yes, I have the entire transcript.
I want the whole transcript.
You want the whole?
Oh, yeah. I
can even give you pages where these things
No,
occurred.
no. I don't do pages.
Oh, have the whole thing.
That's fine.
To look at.
Now, you can direct me
no
to
problem.
the pages when I ask you for them.
Okay, page 28.
Just a second. Are you a police officer?
School safety agent, a peace officer. I have too much to lose to assault her for anything.
Do you have any other paperwork from the family court?
Sure, I have a statement that says she's not to be left alone with my children.
No,
That
I'd like
was
to see
last
everything
year.
that you have.
Sure.
Your Honor, that's because she lied.
I don't.
Page 71 in the transcript you have?
No, I don't have a full transcript.
There is another half, but that I don't have in my possession.
I need the end of the case.
I don't have that.
Well, then this is useless to me. I have to have an entire document. I have to see whether this case was dismissed after an entire trial. I'm speaking, and you're not. Whether the case was dismissed after the plaintiff's case, or whether after the entire case, beyond a reasonable doubt, the judge did not believe that the allegations had been sustained. The quantum of proof here is very, very different. My sense is, after reading all of these documents, unfounded reports of neglect filed against the father.
Yeah, because Anthony constantly calls ACS, but I'm not here to exploit my children.
Just a second. All of those things go into your frustration, Ms. Ricard. At the time when they were returning the children, I assume that they were returning the children on time. They were not there to argue with you. They were not there to fight with you. You had a choice.
Neither was I.
No, oh, yes, you were. You had a choice. And your choice was that if your daughter said something to you about being hit, spanked by the plaintiff, and you are, in some regard, a peace officer, then what you do, since you were no stranger to the courts, you were no stranger to family court, you had an attorney, so that your choice at that time was, the very next morning you pick up the phone.
Let me ask, can I ask you something?
No, you may ask me nothing. What I'm telling you is they came there without any sense of fight. You came downstairs, you were furious. And you were furious because of a whole bunch of things.
No, I was not furious.
Of course you were furious. The first thing that you said to me today, they had chemically treated the children's hair and straightened it. So,
Yeah.
So?
They were.
So?
Yeah. And
So?
she has, like, you didn't
So
want to
what?
look at the statement, but she was, in that statement, she says how I came downstairs. She says that I came downstairs in a calm, low-mannered voice. She says it in the statement.
Oh, show me
Page
that one.
71, she says that she was, Anthony says, yes, she was mimicking me.
No.
Of course.
Just a second. Just a second. I'm going to look at page 71. She
Page
says,
22.
My
That's the low-
husband's here to say what
I
he said.
want you to be quiet. I'm reading from line 4. I was unpacking the trunk and I was putting the bicycle pieces down on the ground when I looked up and Miss Ricard is right on the sidewalk in front of me, and she didn't start yelling at me. She approached me by saying, "Why did you put your hands on my daughter? Why did you put your hands on my child?" When she said that to you, what was her tone? Very low. What was your response? Because she was upset about it, I said, "Let me explain what happened." She didn't give me a chance. She just attacked me. I don't know why you think that that'll help you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Thank you,
Parties
Your
are
Honor.
excused. You may step out.
The truth will prevail eventually. It'll prevail. This is just a little war. The battle is not over.
She's gotten away with way too much. And, you know, if she was a fit parent, the children would not be living with myself and my husband.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Phillips versus Boyd and Boyd versus Booton, step forward.
24-year-old bus driver Latasha Phillips is suing former friend, 23-year-old cashier Danielle Boyd, for giving her personal information to police when she received a ticket. Danielle has a separate lawsuit against her own witness, Shanika Booton. Danielle says Shanika was the one who actually gave the information.
Miss Boyd, you are driving along with your friend over here. I assume that you're Miss Booton.
Mm-hmm.
Yes is the answer.
Yes.
You're driving. You get pulled over by the police. You had no driver's license. So when the police said to you, can I see your driver's license and registration, you said what?
I gave him Latasha Phillips' name.
And you got a ticket.
Right.
For what?
With no insurance.
What else? You don't get stopped for no insurance because the police don't know you have no insurance when they stop your car. What was your car stopped for?
You had a busted windshield.
That's an answer.
Danielle has a separate lawsuit against her own witness, Shanika Booton. Danielle says Shanika was the one who actually gave the information.
So you gave her name to the police. You said, I don't have my license, but this is my name? Speak.
Right.
Did I say anything that was funny to you?
Not so far.
Could you get your act together, please?
Excuse me.
You also gave her date of birth.
I didn't know her date of birth until she gave it to me.
So Miss Booton over here gave you Miss Phillips' date of birth to complete the lie that you told to the police, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Phillips, at this time you're home making matzo ball soup for your family, right?
Yes.
And you know nothing about this?
No, ma'am.
You find out that you've been issued this citation. Did you get something in the mail?
No, ma'am.
Well, how did you find out about it?
Because Shanika, that's my cousin right there. Yeah. And this her best friend. They was mad at each other. So Shanika called one of my other cousins and told her to tell me that Kunta used my name.
So what did you do?
I called the DMV and I got the citation number. Then I called the court to find out why she got pulled over and what day it happened and stuff. And then they started sending me papers in the mail from the collection agency.
Let me see your papers.
This from the collection agency, and this from the DMV. And the collection agency saying that they put a hold on my license, and the DMV said that they was going to suspend my license if I didn't clear it up. And that's
now,
the
your
only
particular
thing.
problem is you were on maternity leave from your job as a bus driver.
Yes, ma'am.
And you couldn't go back to work for a period of time because your license was suspended.
Yes, it's on hold.
On hold for a period of time.
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you out of work?
I was supposed to go back from October 10th, till now.
And you haven't been able to clear this up?
I just went to court on the 30th for this ticket to get the paper saying that I didn't do it.
And how much do you earn a month?
$1,806.
Your defense is it's her fault, right?
Yes.
Because if she hadn't given you the date of birth,
I wouldn't have told the police, right?
Did you ever tell anybody that you had given misinformation?
It was only me and her who knew because we were in the car together. It was me, her, and her baby.
Did you ever tell the truth to the police?
To the police.
To the police. Did you ever tell the truth to the police so that you got her off the hook?
No.
No. I'd like you to sit down for a minute, please. This is going to take 2 seconds. Step over here, please. Now you're the plaintiff. Now you're the defendant. Now, Miss Boyd, this is a lawsuit that you filed against Miss Booton, right?
Right.
And you filed this lawsuit against Miss Booton for $1,000.
Right.
And your claim, why don't you tell me what your claim is
Because
against Miss
from
Booton?
loss of work, and I lost $400 behind this.
How is she responsible for your lost wages from
Because
work?
they took $400 from me.
For the ticket?
For the ticket. They were both taking the money from me.
Did you take $400 from her?
No, I didn't.
Let me read you your claim that you filed, madam.
I see it. It's right.
You say she should be responsible
She should be responsible.
for aiding me in giving the police the misinformation that caused them to issue a citation in her name, because but for her giving you her date of birth, you would not have given the police that misinformation.
Right.
I'm suing the defendant for $1,000 for the stress caused and lost wages.
Yeah.
I think she needs a real reality check. Would you say she needs a reality check?
That a detox.
Yeah, right. Perfect. Your case is dismissed. Now, on your case, just stand up for a second. You may sit down. You may sit down. Not a genius to give your cousin's date of birth, madam. Do you understand? Now you can move back over here. Play little musical chairs. Move back over here. All right, Miss Boyd, let's talk about an R word. R word, responsibility. Responsibility means that if you give misinformation to the police out of your mouth that causes somebody else a problem, even if somebody else told you that information, it's your responsibility.
That's true.
That's not what you say in your answer.
But I'm saying it doesn't cause them to take my money from me.
Oh, I'm going to take a lot more money from you. Because of your actions, she was out of work for at least 2 months because she couldn't drive without a good license, because you opened up your big mouth and lied to the police when you got stopped. It has nothing to do with the police and your broken windshield and you didn't have insurance on your car. That's something between you and the police, madam. With regard to Miss Phillips, you owe her $2,600. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Why is that excused?
Retired Secretary Dolores Moore is suing her nephew, 31-year-old technician Edward Tabor, for tires and rims she sold him. Ed says he's already paid. She's just being greedy.
Come to order. All rise. Now, this is case number 65 on the calendar in the matter of Moore versus Tabor. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Miss Moore, the defendant is your sister's son. Is that right?
Yes.
Sister died recently.
Yes.
Some 4 years ago, according to your complaint, your husband bought a car. And he had either new tires from that car or new tires from his old car, tires and rims. And you tried to sell those for a while. You put ads in the Penny Saver or in your local, whatever, and you got no takers.
Right. Yeah.
And then there came a time last year when you claimed that you sold the tires to your nephew.
Yes.
You say for $800, he says for $600. This lawsuit claims that he never paid you. And in addition, you say that this whole tire business has created certain animosity in your family. You want to be compensated for that too. You can't be compensated for that. Family squabbles happen. The courts are not here to take care of hurt feelings. They're here to take care of money. But I have a couple of questions for you, because your defense is that you gave her the money. Is that right?
Yes.
You had these 4 old tires hanging around for at least 3 years. Nobody wanted them. If you knew that your nephew wanted them, and according to what I read here, Miss Moore, you were a very close family.
Yes.
Why didn't you just give them to him?
They were brand new, Your Honor. They were brand new tires and rims. They'd never been on the road. And I needed the money, so I was trying to sell them.
But nobody bought them for 3 years.
No, but I was selling them for $1,000, her best offer. And I realized no one...
You realize my question?
Yes.
My question is, if you have a piece of property, okay, that nobody wants, nobody wanted them for 3 years.
But I knew someone would want them eventually.
Eventually, maybe
Ford.
some... Miss Moore, just
sorry.
check me out. I mean, I have nieces and nephews. So what I'm asking you is, if you have a nephew, your sister's son, you're a really close family, nobody wants him. It's not as if your husband got the car, he had new tires, your nephew said to you, listen, instead of selling them to a stranger, I'll buy them. Maybe you'll give me a break on the price. You had them sitting in your garage for 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wanted them. So why didn't you just give him the tires if he wanted them? To make peace with everybody.
We needed the money so desperately, Your Honor.
For what?
My husband was gone. I wasn't working. I'm disabled. My son is disabled. We rented out rooms to make ends meet. I didn't have any money. I even offered him $20 a month if he'd pay it, just to buy us some, bread, milk, help us. I needed to sell them. I know I couldn't.
But you would
I
try
did
to sell
try,
them.
yes, I kept
And
trying.
you weren't successful.
In fact, the same week that it came out in the paper again, because sometimes I'd take a few months and, you know, just try to rest from it. And I just put them back in the paper, and he happened to come over the same day they came out.
You mean the same day the ad came out?
The ad came out, yes.
Okay. And you say he didn't pay you?
I love him dearly, too. I loved them all. If I'd had the money, I would have gave them to him.
Okay. Mr. Tabor, I'll hear you.
Okay, well, on May 30th, on a Memorial Day weekend, I believe, last year, well, we were talking, me and my dad. I just bought a T-Bird in '97. The rims would fit. So my dad said to me that I should offer her $600. Yes, he's here.
Step up, sir.
Would you like me to continue?
Yes.
Okay, he said to offer her $600. He had the cash on him. I went into the kitchen. I offered her the $600. She took it. My cousin Pam Doubt is a witness here. She watched me hand her the money in the kitchen.
Is that you?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Could you step up, please?
And
you remember this incident, Miss Doubt?
I remember of seeing him hand her some money in the kitchen. I only went in for a bottle of steak sauce, Your Honor. I didn't mean to get involved in all of this, but they were doing a cash transaction in the kitchen. He was handing her, it was $600 or $700. I didn't ask what it was for, but he had taken me outside that day to show me his new car, and he told me that he was purchasing Uncle Bob's rims. But that's all I know. I did see him handing her money.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
And
have a seat.
my wife is here because we did pay my father back the money that we borrowed. So, I mean,
So you
that's why I
borrowed
brought
this
my
money
wife.
from your dad?
Yes.
What is your last name? Is your last name Tabor?
No, Lily.
Mr. Lilly, had you intended to purchase these rims for your son or to loan him the money when you came this Memorial Day weekend?
No,
You had not.
no. I never give it a thought.
Okay, but you had that much cash with you.
Yes.
Were you there when this transaction took place?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about it.
Well, when they was talking about the tires, Ed did offer $600 because that's really all they were worth as far as I was concerned. Because that's what I told them to offer. And they discussed it. We went outside, and I talked to Ed, and I talked to Gina. And I told them that I would let them have the money if they really wanted them. And they did want them, so I gave Ed the money.
You gave your son the money?
Yes.
And were you there when he allegedly gave the money to the plaintiff?
I was not in the room when they gave the money to him.
Okay. Who was there, Mr. Tabor?
Just my aunt and my cousin Pam.
But your aunt is here, is the only one here, and that was
Well,
the steak sauce
my
incident?
cousin, excuse
I'm
me.
the cousin.
You're
I'm the steak sauce cousin.
You're
That's
the steak
right.
sauce cousin.
That's right.
Did you pay your dad back?
Yes.
How long did it take you to pay your dad back?
I would say over 6 months, maybe 8. My wife is the one that gave him the money.
Is that right? Tell me what happened to create this hard feeling with your family.
My mom passed on, and the families had gone south. We don't talk anymore. We've separated.
So what you're saying is that it was your mother who kept everybody together?
Absolutely.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Doris Moore says her nephew Edward Tabor has not paid her for tires and rims for his Thunderbird. Ed says she's been paid.
When for the first time were you contacted about the money for the tires?
I was called, and she asked for money, and I told her I was not going to give her more money for than what she already had agreed upon.
Well, tell me about when that phone call was. How much after your mother died?
It was probably a good 3-4 months before she called me.
Is that correct that you called him about 3 or 4 months later?
Yes.
And what was the conversation when she called you?
Well, it started off about the gathering. Thanksgiving was coming up, and she wanted to know if we were all coming over for Thanksgiving. And I told her no, that we were going to be going to my brother's house. And she said that she made a promise to keep the families together for my mom. And I told her I never told my mom that I would stay in contact with that side of the family. That
The whole side of the family?
Well,
Is bad?
my aunt, they play music loud, drink a lot, and that's not my forte for holidays. I prefer to have peaceful family gatherings. We just get together and talk.
Okay.
So then she started mumbling about paying her money, and I told her that
Well,
I
what
had
did she
already
say
paid.
about paying her money?
Well, she did exactly that. She asked for money. And I don't know if, I know that she's been sick. I don't know if she recalls, if she's forgotten. I don't know what the situation is with her, Your Honor, but I told her I had already paid her. I'm not going to pay her anymore.
Do you remember having a conversation, Miss Moore, with your nephew?
Yes, I called to ask him if he had the money because we needed the money. And he said no, that he wasn't working, but his wife was, but they were just making ends meet. I said, do you think you could pay me $20 a month? I mean, that would be better than nothing. It would help us. And he said, yeah. He says, I probably could do that. He says, I'll be over next week. And he never showed up. So then about
Does that sound familiar to you?
No.
He didn't pay anything, Your Honor. I swear to God, he didn't. I'd have never taken him to court if he had him.
You have any witnesses, Miss Moore?
Yes, I have my daughter at Christmas Day. We were invited over to his oldest sister's. And I was sick Christmas. I couldn't go, so my daughter and my son went for dinner because I went to bed. And
this was Christmas after.
Yes, and they had a problem with.
You're her daughter.
Yes.
You know anything about this tire business?
Yes, I do.
Let me hear.
Well, she sold him the tires for $800. And
were you present when they made the transaction?
Not when they made the transaction.
Okay, so you don't know about that.
Okay. It was at Christmas time. We were all around.
Afterwards?
Yes. And she didn't go because she was sick. And this subject came up where he wanted to buy this game from my brother, the Risk game. And Raymond said that he would sell it to him for $800. And Eddie turned around and said, what do you mean $800? He says, I ain't paying you $800 for the thing. He says, well, that's what you owe for the tires. And then the conversation started and getting really bad. And next thing I know, Eddie wanted to take Raymond outside and duke it out. I said,
a minute.
Whoa.
Hold. Step up. Tell me your last name, sir.
James.
Mr. James, according to your sister, there was some talk Christmas time after the tires were purchased, about a game for $800.
Yes.
And you said that's what you owe for the tires.
Right.
Right? What did the defendant say to you?
He said he wanted the game for his wife's sister. I told him, well, you give the money for the tires and I will give you the game, $800.
That's because your mother had said that he still owed her the money for the tires.
Right, exactly.
But
and I go, you give me that money and I will, transfer the game to you.
And what did he say to you?
And he said, let's go right now, outside.
Okay, so he did not at that point acknowledge that he owed any money for the tires.
He didn't tell me anything about that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Anyways, then after that, I calmed him down. We started to leave, and he followed me outside and pulled me off to the side, and we started talking about the deal about the tires. And he's saying, well, what about all this stuff that happened I turned around and I said, Eddie, all that stuff doesn't matter. That was a long time ago. I said, you bought the tires, you owe the money. And he more or less said to me, well, I owe the money, maybe she'll get it, maybe she won't.
Did you have that conversation with her?
I walked her outside, Your Honor,
Yes.
after the discussion with me wanting to beat up my cousin. Of course, he's quite a bit bigger. I'm not a fool. So anyways, she did start bringing up the matter of money, and I told her I'm not going to pay for something that I've already paid for before. Now, I don't owe her any money. I have paid her, and whether she has told her children that or not is beyond me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I can tell you that I don't have much to do with the family, not because I don't enjoy them, it's just that the family dynamics are extremely unhealthy.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dolores Moore wants her nephew, Edward Tabor, to pay her for the tires and rims she sold him.
Tell me about the conversation.
She asked me if I was going to pay for the rims and tires, and I told her that I had already paid for them. I told her that I had no intentions on paying her again, and that the families are better off without this kind of problem every holiday. And that is exactly why we do not have family gatherings like we used
May
to
I
when
say
my mom
something?
was alive.
Yes.
We never had any problems at family holidays.
No.
Never. We always, the family has been very, very close for a very long time.
So what do you think happened?
I really don't honestly know. I would like to know the answer myself because every
So would I.
Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every 4th of July, every single holiday, Memorial, Labor Day, everywhere, they all came over, we all barbecued, they all had beers, everybody shoot pool, you know, we have a pool table, and everybody got along just fine. When my aunt died, my mom promised her on her deathbed that she would keep the family together. That was my aunt's main goal. Please,
Yeah, but
Dolores.
there has to be a reason. I don't understand.
I don't know
these
what the reason
results.
is, Your Honor. I don't know. When my mom called to ask everybody over for Thanksgiving, the oldest daughter, which is his sister,
How
said,
could your mother invite everybody for Thanksgiving? She just told me she doesn't have money to put bread on the table for herself.
because everybody, I help her. I give her money. My Aunt June gives her money. Everybody gives her money so we can get this big family together. My mom is struggling. She owns her own home. She's, you know, got payments.
Yes.
May I say something? After my husband passed away, he left this money clip, and it has a buffalo nickel in it. He may even have it on him, I don't know. But he wanted it so bad, and so I took it down and got it engraved just for him. That's how much I loved him. I would not hurt him if it wasn't unfair.
Your Honor.
I also have a tape that his dad, stepdad, left me on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And it's an awful tape.
Your Honor.
I don't want to
Your-
hear
May I play it?
I don't want to hear it.
Your
It's
Honor.
awful.
Well, why would I want to hear something awful? Did you leave a tape for her?
Yes.
I
He uses
have quite a temper, especially when I know sue happy people, which she has sued several people.
I have not.
When sue happy people are trying to get money out of my son. He's my stepson, but I never claimed him as a stepson. He's my son.
How long have you known him?
Since I was 17.
He was 17.
So?
He left a message. I heard him leave the message, Your Honor.
Was not
and
nice.
he
We won't
did
repeat
tell her that he will be in court to testify.
To prove that she's a liar.
He used the F word.
I got you. There's nothing you can do about it. Can I ask, can you sit down, sir, for one more minute? Could you step up here, please? Just give me your relationship to this family. You're a cousin. How are you a cousin?
Eddie is my cousin. His father is my mother's brother. I'm not that close with the family. I've gone to Aunt Dolores' house twice. I do call her Aunt Dolores out of respect. And I can tell you that I don't have much to do with the family, not because I don't enjoy them, it's just that the family dynamics are extremely unhealthy, and I prefer not to be involved. I went out of respect. My Aunt Alice was dying. It was the last time I knew I was going to see her.
Thank you.
Thank
See, what she is saying, madam, is, and I believe her. I must tell you that I believe her. I see no reason why she would lie.
She's a wonderful lady.
About seeing an exchange of money on that Memorial Day between your nephew and you. Now, maybe it's possible.
That was the first time he wanted to buy him, Your Honor. They wouldn't fit his car.
You just
They
told me
wouldn't
that.
fit his car.
Just
No,
listen
they
to me.
wouldn't
No,
fit
he
his
went
car.
out and bought him a T-Bird so they fit.
The tires wouldn't fit
The
on the old
tires
car.
wouldn't fit on his old car.
So he went and got another car.
When was that?
That was about 2 years later, a year and a half later.
What
he
day are you
bought
talking
another
about,
car.
madam?
I'm stunned.
Well, step up here. Just let me finish
That
this.
was the first.
On what day were you at? What year? Let's try year.
Last year, Memorial Day.
That's last year, Memorial Day.
Correct.
Okay. It was the last.
That was the last time I
That
saw
you were
my-
there.
Absolutely.
So there's no question about that in your mind.
There is no
2
question
years
in
ago.
my mind. I mean, I knew it was the last time I would see her alive. It is. I was there. They know I was at their home.
Okay.
Yes,
And that's the time that you saw the exchange of money.
That's when I saw the exchange in the kitchen.
Okay. And was that the day you got the tires?
Correct.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me. I have to make a judgment. Okay? I have to make a judgment on who is telling me the truth. Put your hand down, sir. On who is telling me the truth. Now, it is possible that your mother was under a great deal of stress.
Yeah.
It is possible that she doesn't recall. It is possible. All of those things are possible. But I have to make a judgment based upon who I believe. And I will tell you,
He did not pay
I
for
believe
those
her.
tires. He
I
did
believe her. Case is dismissed. That's
Parties are excused. You may step out.
so.
21-year-old sanitation engineer, Benjamin Carbajal, claims the mother of his 4-year-old daughter, 31-year-old package handler Denise Young, hit him in the mouth and damaged his truck.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 42 on the calendar in the matter of Carbajal versus Young. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Two of you folks were involved in a relationship. You have a child together, and according to your complaint, sir, you had had some sort of a disagreement. You went over to the defendant's house to apologize. An argument ensued, and she damaged your truck.
Correct. I went over there. We had been arguing on Friday night, then we didn't see each other all day Saturday. And then I actually went over there to pick up my daughter at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. And she wasn't there. And then I, kept going back, every couple of hours. And I finally caught up with her about 3:30. And we argued on her porch. My little girl, she's 4 years old now, and she was, right there with her at the screen door. We kept arguing. I got a little upset. She got upset. I turned around and walked away.
That's incorrect as far as...
Get a chance. Okay. Go ahead.
She said one more thing. I turned around and lashed back at her, and then I took off down her walkway. She came out, storming out of her door, started swinging at me, and I was, just bobbing and weaving, kind of like went towards the front of my truck and went around towards, like, the driver's side of my truck. Well, because she couldn't hit me, I guess she got upset, so she went up to my truck, and she was in her bare feet, but she was kicking my truck about 4 to 5 times on the passenger side. Then she walked around. She walked around the front of my truck and she tried to hit me again. All this time I kept telling her my little daughter was watching through the screen door, so I was telling her to calm down. And she started swinging at me again, but this time I grabbed her arms and she proceeded to headbutt me right in my mouth and loosen this tooth right here. So then after that happened, I backed up and she followed me up the driveway, started swinging again. This time, the only way I can get away, I just grabbed her and I pushed her with a little force, and that's the only way that I was able to get away. I then got into my truck and I drove off up her street a little bit, and then I got out and we exchanged a few more words. And
What'd you get out for?
Because I said a few things to her. I wanted to get like one little last word in, and anyway, so I started driving. In my mind, I was like, well, I'm going to the police department, straight to the police department. And as I was driving...
You want to lose this case before we start?
No. Okay, apologize.
As I was driving to the police department, I went to make a left turn, and that's when I noticed that this had been broken off. I guess she had done it between the time she headbutted me and when I backed up to her driveway. I guess she reached in and broke it off because she was still trying to do damage to my truck.
Okay. So what I find interesting, sir, is that you are suing for damage to your truck.
Only.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody hit me and loosened my tooth, boy, I wouldn't give a rat's behind about my truck.
I also went to the dentist. I went to the dentist like 2 weeks later. There was little damage in the ligaments.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you, sir. It just, your priorities are sort of interesting to me. Okay. Miss Young.
Yes.
Why did you lose your temper at him that day?
Well, he'd said something about our daughter. He said that he probably isn't the father when I had broken up with him because he was too jealous.
The one thing that he said to you was, I'm probably not her father.
Well, he had used plenty of vulgarness and just intent to hurt me with just...
So you lost your cool?
Well, after he was leaving, yeah, he started flinging, he was mud flinging at me, I kept my cool up until that point, until he was down in the middle of the grass and he had screamed that back because he hadn't pushed my buttons yet. And he knew that that's the only thing he could say to push my buttons.
So then what did you do?
I'm a wet hen when it comes to my daughter. What did I do? I went down to the lawn and, yeah, I had swung at him with miss, which there's no intent to,
Just tell me what you did.
Only because I ducked out of the way, though. She was coming at me pretty good.
Am I asking you any questions now?
Okay.
And
so you started swinging at him?
I had swung one time. Yes, I did. Either or.
You started swinging at him?
Okay. Well, yeah, heck yes. So, well, I didn't hit him. He ducked and grabbed my arms and held him up to me, pushed him up to me, laughing at me. Seeing that he pushed my buttons, at that time he slapped my head, he let go of one of my arms.
Wait, hold on.
No, I don't want to hear you.
I can't
Did you understand me?
That's
I don't want to hear you.
And he'd swung at me and popped me in the side of the head, this side of the head,
And,
Go ahead.
Which is in
I'm
the...
going to sit here and tell a lie like that.
You want to lose? You want me to throw you out? I'm going to do that. You told your story. I told her to be quiet until you were finished. Do you understand? Did you hear me tell her that?
Mm-hmm.
If you open your mouth again, I'm dismissing your lawsuit unless I ask you a question. Is that clear?
That's clear.
Good. Continue.
Okay. At that time, when he hit me in the head, just out of defending myself, then I...
You weren't defending yourself. You were the aggressor.
Well, yes, I was the
no,
aggressor.
you were
but
the
he's
aggressor.
The one that
no,
touched
you
me first.
were the aggressor.
Correct, but he's the one that touched first.
No, no, no.
But,
you
okay.
were the aggressor.
Okay, so, okay.
Now, what did you do to his car?
He then let go and ran around his truck laughing and dancing around, thought it was cute. He ran from the back of his truck all the way around to the passenger seat side, and at that time I reached in to grab his keys.
No, at that time, according to your answer, let me tell you what you wrote in your answer. He ran around to get to the front of his truck.
Right.
And you say, I chased him.
Well,
from the back to the front driver's side.
That's just human nature. I mean, somebody hit you, yeah, heck yes. I mean, you know, you're like, and he's laughing, and you're like...
Let me see the damage to the truck, please.
Popping up. Shoot.
Let me see the damage.
What I have here,
I didn't ask you a question. I said, let me see the damage to the truck.
Okay. But in those pictures...
And may I finish?
No, you're finished.
Oh,
I'm want this
not
too?
finished.
You're finished. Did you ever hear sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me?
I do understand.
Well, you were the aggressor.
Well, he's the one that hit.
No, no, no. You were the aggressor. He hit in self-defense. You were the aggressor.
No. Okay.
Oh.
All right. Well, the neighbor saw all that, and I wished I would have...
Don't tell me what anybody else saw. Now let me see the estimates.
That's true.
The estimate, and do you want to see the police report also?
Yes.
You can tell a lie like that.
You're so...
You know damn well they're not hit you.
You ought to just be quiet.
They into each
No, Judge, they're not talking.
Screen door, you're so lame. Kabrina knows how to open screen
How they
doors.
talking to each other, Judge?
But you asked them to stop.
She's gonna throw your case out if you don't shut up. Okay?
Thank you. You know what I find interesting? She headbutted him, right? And then the officer notes here that she had a bruise. Listen to this. On her forehead, approximately 2 inches round. Hello?
Judge Judy is suing ex-girlfriend Denise Young for hitting him in front of their 4-year-old daughter.
Okay, well, you're going to get the money for your truck. She had absolutely no basis to not only hit you in the mouth, which I would have sued for, but damage your truck,
He thought
God
it was
forbid.
cool. That's what he told the officer, too. He thought it was cool.
But I'm going to
Sit
say this
back.
to you, sir, and this is just gratuitous tongue lashing from me. One of the things that you said to her, which, especially since you say that your daughter was present, she was at the screen door, if you shouted to her that this was not your child, that is a vile thing to say.
Sick.
Vile. Clearly designed to push her buttons. Pushing her buttons doesn't give her a license to either assault you or your property. But that probably, especially with your daughter there, is probably the worst thing that you could say to a child within a child's earshot. Right? So I don't
agree.
care what kind of relationship you have with her. If you two have been fighting for 12 years, God bless you, you might spend the next 12 years fighting with each other. Who knows? But you made a child together. You're not supposed to make that child miserable. So if you told me that you were being a good father and said, cut it out, you know, your daughter is standing by the screen door, and then to shout to her what you did, there is nothing that I can say to you that can mitigate the damage that did. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
All right. Do you still go and pick her up for visitation?
Yes.
Yep.
Actually,
Once in a great while.
actually,
Once in a great while.
Last Sunday,
Like-
see,
like the day-
it was raining heavy, and because I have not had that fixed yet, I can't drive my truck in the rain because I don't have any windshield wipers.
It quit raining at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I have
Do you have an
offered
order of
and-
visitation?
Yes, I have.
Yes, he
and
does.
I took
Just a
her to
sec.
court.
Just a second. You have an order of
Yes,
visitation?
I do. Yes,
and I assume you have an order of support.
Yes, I do.
Okay. And you pay the order of support?
Yes.
Yes, they dock his wages.
Okay, well, that's fine.
He has no choice.
That's fine. He's working. He could quit
You
his
betcha.
job.
Yes, you betcha.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
So that you both work and you both
Very
support
good
the
job,
child
yes.
that you made. And if you have visitations, every time you're supposed to be there on time. You
That
never
includes-
dis-
Excuse me.
I don't need any help from you.
No, okay. I'm sorry.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,650. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
That was easy.
The time that's invested with he and Cabrina isn't anything.
I guess she's right for us to get along well, everything to be pretty smooth and pleasant, and me to spend more time with my daughter. She's right.
Well, that's important. That's important for every child.
And now the next case.
All parties on Griffith versus Bell. Step forward, please.
25-year-old tattoo artist Jared Griffith is suing the mother of his child, 23-year-old beauty advisor Nicole Bell, for rent and car repairs.
Mr. Griffith, you and the defendant have had a 5-year relationship,
Altogether, yes.
and you have a child together.
Yes.
How old is the child?
She's 5.
You're suing her for $700 and some odd dollars. $300 you say was a loan of some sort, and some money to fix your car.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Were you living together at the time of this loan?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
It was towards the tail end of our relationship, and a couple days before Halloween of 1999, she called me at work and asked me if I could borrow some money from a friend of mine.
For what?
So she could pay rent because she didn't have the money for rent
Rent where?
at our house, the house that we were living at.
The two of you. So
Yes.
you had an arrangement that each one of you would pay so much in rent?
Our agreement was that she was to pay half the rent, and I was going to pay the other half, and then we split the bills.
Is that right?
Yes.
And you borrowed the money from a friend?
I borrowed the money from my friend Pat.
And what was the arrangement as far as paying back Pat?
The arrangement was that she was going to originally pay him back by the end of the month, and she never did.
Okay, so she didn't pay back Pat.
No.
Did you?
No, I didn't.
So what are you doing here?
I'm
So
suing
what?
on his behalf.
You can't sue on his behalf. You're not out of pocket any money, right?
Well, I borrowed the money from him
Right.
to give to her
Right.
for the loan.
But you're not out of pocket any money. You didn't pay him back, right?
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you pay any child support in February, Mr. Griffith?
No, I haven't.
He's not paid child support since our daughter was 6 months old.
You're getting away with murder, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jared Griffith is suing Nicole Bell for rent and car repairs. Nicole claims Jared owes her for child support.
All right, let's move on to the second problem. Second problem is the car. You say you loaned her a car.
Yes.
The car got damaged, the brakes needed to be redone, and you wanted her to pay for the brakes.
She agreed to pay for the brakes. She kept on complaining about how is she going to get to work, how is she going to do this, how is she going to do that. And so I eventually said, okay, well, you can use my car if you agree to pay for the repairs to it because you've driven it into the ground over the past few months. Because when she originally started driving it, we took it down and got it fixed at my mechanic's. And it was the brakes and everything were in tip-top shape.
Well, had you just put in new brakes?
No, I don't think I
And
have.
what year car was this?
It's a 1964 Bug.
64?
Yeah.
All right. When you split up, who did your daughter go to live with? Did she stay with you or did she go with
She was living with her grandmother.
She spends the weekends with my mother.
Why?
Because my mom babysits. My mom has Friday and Saturday off. Those are the only 2 days that she can spend with my daughter.
Okay, but during the week, where does your daughter go?
She's with my boyfriend.
She stays with your boyfriend
Yes,
during the day?
I live with my boyfriend.
You have a boyfriend now that doesn't work?
No, he works.
You just said that your daughter spends during the week with your boyfriend.
Right.
So he doesn't work.
Right now, he's applying for a few jobs.
So the answer is he doesn't work.
Right.
Now, Mr. Griffith, the defendant says that one of the reasons you're angry with her is because you claimed your daughter on your tax returns this year as if you were her sole provider.
Yes.
And she called the Internal Revenue Service and said that that's not true.
Yes.
you know, if you were civilized with each other and if you were each contributing similar amounts of money, what you could have done was made some sort of arrangement. Somebody claims her on their tax returns, and then whatever that deduction is, you can share it.
We did originally when we were together that we agreed that we would claim her, that I would claim her for that year because she was out of work for the majority of the year and I made more money than her.
Was that your arrangement?
No, we had an arrangement previously that we would claim her every other year. He claimed her the prior year of 98, so 99 was my year to claim her, but I was also the majority of the provider for her.
Okay. Miss Bell, for my own interest, did you ask Mr. Griffith to borrow $300 on your behalf?
No, ma'am. He took it upon himself to borrow money from his friend to pay the remainder of the rent. When I left my furniture, and I told him that he had the option to keep it or he could sell it to pay back his friend.
Was any furniture left in your house that belonged to her?
I told her that I was going to keep the couches until she paid me back.
So the answer was she had some furniture?
She did, but she didn't have anywhere else to put it as well.
Okay. If you wanted to, she is not making any claim to her furniture. She says to sell it. If you have a problem with paying back your friend from whom you borrowed the money, sell the couches, right?
I guess, but it's not my responsibility to pay him back. It's her responsibility.
You understand something? So this is a court. Parties are not fungible. You cannot say, well, I'm standing in his place. If he wants to sue her, he would be standing where you're standing. Then I would say, did you make an agreement with her? He'd say no. He didn't make an agreement with her. Right?
He made an agreement with her based on me.
No, he did not make an agreement with her. You made the agreement with him.
To her, it was for her. She asked me specifically to borrow money from him.
I understand that.
I was the middleman. I was on the phone and I asked
Mr. Griffith, sell the couches and pay him back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, in February of this year, the child was living with you?
Yes.
Did you pay any child support in February, Mr. Griffith?
No, I haven't. I asked her if she wanted me to pay child support upon her leaving, and she said, no, I'll be fine. I don't need it because I don't have to pay rent.
So you have not paid child support since November of 1999?
No.
No, I have. I'm working on that right now with the district attorney's office.
Just a second. Have you paid child support since November of 1999?
No, because she denied it. She did not want it.
He's not paid child support since our daughter was 6 months old.
It doesn't make any difference. You were living together. What do you mean he has to pay
No,
child
we
support?
weren't living together for 4.5 years, and he never paid child support in that time, and I never denied him, no, I don't need it. Because, I mean, it's
Why
ordered
is
by
the
court.
district attorney involved now?
Because it's welfare reimbursement.
Ah, there you go.
For not very long.
Whatever. It's welfare reimbursement.
99% of it is for welfare reimbursement.
Whatever. Are you on welfare now?
No, I'm not.
Have you been in the last year?
No, I have not.
Okay. And you have not paid any child support in the last year?
No, I have not.
You're getting away with murder, sir. So your case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
30-year-old bartender Lance Shiverdecker is suing ex-girlfriend, 24-year-old hotel night auditor Dawn Marquis for a loan. Dawn is countersuing for a projection TV and defamation of character.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 40 on the calendar in the matter of Shiverdecker versus Marquise. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
The two of you met, according to what I read, at the place where you both work, which is at a hotel.
Correct.
And dated briefly for about a 3-month period. And Mr. Shiverdecker, during that time, you allege that you loaned the defendant some money to fix her car.
Yes, Your Honor.
You broke up. You want your money back. She says that the money that you spent on the car was not a loan, was a gift. And she is counterclaiming for a television set, which he has that belongs to you, and then for some nonsense about defamation of character. All right, so let's start. When did you give her this money for the car?
It was within the 3 months, January, February, March. I just kept putting money into her car because her car kept breaking down.
Well, let's start with the first time you gave her money to put in the car. How did that come about?
She was like, it was January 24th, I think, I believe, and she was having car problems, stuff like that. She has 2 children, So she kept coming to my house and stuff. Her car was breaking down, so I figured that I'd be a nice guy, give her some money, help her fix a car. She said she was getting a tax check in. She'd give me the money back from the tax check when she got it in.
That's
So
not true.
I just...
Just a minute. Tell me the exact conversation, sir. She called you and said she was having car trouble. What kind of car trouble was she having?
Starter was going in her car.
That was the first problem?
No, the first problem was the windshield was broken in her car.
Oh. So let's get to the windshield. Did she call your house and tell you she needed it, or were you out together and she told you she needed money?
No, we were out together. We were talking about it.
And what did you say to her?
I just told her, she asked me about, she was driving around with the windshield cracked and stuff, and I told her that, you know, you should get that fixed before she gets pulled over with it.
Okay. You should get that fixed. And what did she say to you?
She said she would when she got a tax check money in.
She said, fine, I'm going to do that when I get
Right.
my tax check.
Right.
And you said to her,
I said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it now. When you get your tax check, you can just give me the money so you don't have to have no problems until then.
and how much did you give her?
I went to the junkyard, picked up a windshield that was $50, and then I went to a glass place like a week later and had it put in for her.
And how much did they charge you at the glass place?
$60.
Did you consult her about any of these costs?
Yeah, she said she'll take care of it once you got a tax check.
You keep saying that. Had you told her you were going to a junkyard?
Yes.
Is that right?
He told me he'd call a couple of junkyards and find prices. And I told him to get prices and then notify me, and I was going to buy the windshield with my paycheck, not my tax check.
Okay, so you were planning to buy it?
I was planning to buy it, yes.
Okay. And you couldn't have gotten it cheaper than $50, could you?
I wasn't sure. He said it was his responsibility to look for me. I wasn't allowed to look myself. So he was supposed to call, get prices, and then notify me. I was going to pay him the money, and he was going to pick it up.
Okay. You picked it up, it was $50. Then you took the windshield and had it put in your car.
No, he brought me to a place that his friend owned. And
Just
there
a
was,
second. Did you go to a place and have the windshield put in your car?
Yes.
And did you go with him?
Yes.
And did you know how much the cost was?
Yes, it was nothing. There were friends of his that owned the business. What he was initially going to do is he has full coverage in his vehicle. His friend was going to say that they were putting it on his truck and put on his tax as though his truck had the windshield put in it.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
No, it is not. And when we got there, the guy that did it, the owner of the shop, it was a place in Boston, said that, he said, don't worry about it. And then we left.
Okay. When was the next time you gave her money?
It was probably about, excuse me, about 2 weeks after that.
And what happened then?
Her car broke down, and she was tanning or something. Her car broke down, and as her starter, it was a starter. So she didn't have the money at the time for the, for the starter. So I told
Well,
her.
no, her car broke down. Did she call you?
Yeah, yes, she did.
And what did she say when she called you?
She was yelling and upset about her car and saying she wanted to get rid of it. And so I told her I'd go pick her up and take care, see if I get the car running or whatever like that. So she said, don't worry about it. Her mother was going to pick her up or something like that. So she went and had it towed, or I don't know what she had done, but it was at her house. I told her I'd pick up a starter for her and have it put in for her.
Okay. And how much did that cost?
I believe the starter was $50, and the labor was like $115.
Do you have any
I
bills for
got
that?
the receipts right here, all the receipts.
Okay, I'd like to take a look at them. All right, and she gave you the car to go and have that done?
No, we went together and we dropped it off. And she
Is that
went over my
right?
house after.
Yes, we went together. I didn't talk to anybody. I wasn't allowed to go in the place. I had to wait in his truck while he went in and talked to the mechanic and stuff.
Don't tell me, Miss
I don't know
O'Keefe,
what
that you're not
happened there.
allowed. You're allowed to do whatever you want. You're allowed to get in the car. You're allowed to get out of his car if he drove you there and take a bus home.
Not without arguing, though. I mean,
So you argue. You don't get into his
That's a
car
lie,
in the
Your
first
Honor.
place.
It's not a lie.
Listen to me, Ms. Marquis. I mean, I read your answer, and you said he was totally dominating you, and he wouldn't let you do anything. So just listen what you did. You complained to me that he totally dominated you when he went and got the windshield for your car and didn't ask you anything, and then totally dominated you when you went in to have the windshield put into the car, right? Then you don't accept, if that bothers you, then you don't accept his offers when he wants to put in a new starter for the car. What you say is, I'll take care of it myself.
And I did.
No. What you say is, I'll take care of it myself. I don't want to go with you. I don't want you to pick me up a starter. You didn't say that to him.
I told him that I would go and pay for it because he said his mechanic had been in the family a long time and was a good, reputable mechanic.
Are you not following what I'm saying to you? Is it not piercing through? If somebody you feel is trying to control your life, you don't put them in a situation where they can do that. unless you want to accept things, right?
Okay.
Now, what about this television set, Miss Marquise?
Before, when we started dating, my father had given me it's like a projection television set, and Lance came over and my father was saying how it had to be repaired. He said he knows a friend that can repair the TV, and that him and his friend would pick it up and bring it to his house because his friend lived in the same city, and that it would be fixed from then on. I don't think it's been fixed yet, and when I asked for it back, he said that my father and I gave it to him.
What happened was her father was buying a new big screen TV. He needed to get that TV out of the house. She said it was broken. She said, if you could do me a favor, I'd appreciate it. If you could get the TV out of the house. I had a pickup truck. I said, yeah, I'll take care of it for you. She goes, you can do whatever you want with the TV. I don't care. I just need it out of the house.
That
She
sounds
gave it
right to me.
No.
That sounds right to me.
That's
Why
not
would I
right.
take a broken
Yeah,
TV
that's right.
and bring it to
It's
my
not
house?
right. You wanna
I
know
would have
why?
to fix their
Why?
house.
Because you didn't bring a lawsuit until he sued you for the money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. He for a loan. Dawn is countersuing Lance for ruining her reputation.
Who are you?
I'm his mother.
Step up. What's your last name?
Shiverdecker.
Shiverdecker, what do you know about this TV?
She was talking to my son on the phone, and he lives with me. And I even called her mom and told her mom that she could pick up the TV at any time. It was broken. It was of no use to us.
Where is the TV now? Just
It's at my house.
is it fixed?
No, it's not.
It's not fixed.
No.
So nobody did anything with it.
Correct.
Fine. Go get it.
Okay.
3 days from today. If you're not there after 3 days, he's going to fix it and have himself a TV. Sit down.
Your Honor, I have bank statements showing that the whole entire time I had over that amount of the money in the bank, including my my deposits with the checks. The second time he had the car repaired, my money was already in the bank, and he knows that because when I was sleeping, he went through my pocketbook and looked at all my bank
So
statements.
why don't you give him the money that he spent on your car?
Because when I tried to in the first place, I was writing a check and we were going to pick up the car. He told me no. He said, it's my responsibility. I'm taking care of it. He refused the money.
Well, but he wants it now, so why don't you give it to him?
Because he said not to worry about it
No.
before. So
Listen
no.
to me.
He said it's his
Listen to
responsibility.
me. But he wants it now, and you're no longer together.
That's why he wants it back.
So why don't you do it?
Because I offered to do that. If my
Oh, well, let's
television was
offer
returned-
again. You offer to give him back the money he spent for his car, for your car?
If my stuff was returned to me also.
Just what stuff?
My television.
You're
was the
going
main
to
thing.
pick that up in 3 days.
Okay.
What else?
That's the main thing, yeah, that's it.
That's the only thing. Good.
Your Honor.
Now let me see. Now, that's very good. So let me see the bills that you spent on a car.
And this is.
She wants to give it back to you.
This was a letter that she
Even
wrote me
though
that I was.
She wants to give it back to you because that's the right thing to do, because she says you're annoying her at work. You're annoying her at work, and probably one of the reasons you're annoying her is that you feel as if she made a fool out of you by taking this money. Is that right?
Your Honor, I don't even see her at work. I don't talk to her at work.
$261. Now, you want to take care of the rest of this countersuit that you have, or defamation?
Yes. I work at the front desk at the hotel, and he works in the bar. People in the bar have been coming up to me.
Don't tell me what anybody's telling you from the bar.
I'm sorry, what?
Don't tell me what anybody's been telling you. That's hearsay.
Okay, well, he's at the bar telling people at the bar that
How do you know what he's telling people at the bar?
a couple of the patrons and a police officer came to me
You
and asked me about
cannot
it.
tell me what anybody else said. That's hearsay.
Okay.
Good. Counterclaim is dismissed with the exception of the television set, which you will pick up in 3 days. If she doesn't pick it up within 3 days from today, you are free to do whatever you want with it.
Yes, ma'am.
And I am awarding you $261 on your claim. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Subjected to people saying a lot of obnoxious rumors about me that aren't true, having to switch jobs and everything because of it, and him constantly beginning to harass me.
If there was any harassment, it was on her part.
And now the next case.
All parties on Schmid versus Vanderham. Step forward, please.
21-year-old student Kelly Schmidt claims ex-boyfriend, 19-year-old student Josh Vanderham, owes her for half the cost of a Millennium getaway.
You folks were dating each other around the millennium. According to your complaint, Ms. Schmidt, you arranged for a weekend
In Huntington Beach.
in Huntington Beach.
Yes.
And you put all of this, the hotel and stuff, on your credit card. You say there was an arrangement for him to repay you half of the cost of the trip.
Yes.
You broke up shortly thereafter. He hasn't paid you back.
Yes.
That's what this is about.
I wanted to do something really fun for New Year's, and I had just thought of doing this for the weekend, and so I called the hotel. And
Now, first, did you call him?
Yes, I called him and discussed it with him first, and said.
Well, tell me about it. Tell me
Well, I
about
called
that
him and I
discussion.
discussed it, and I said, you know, look, this would be a cool idea. You know, would you be interested in doing it? And he's like, yeah, that's cool. You know, I'm like, okay, well then I'll call in the hotel and I'll find out if, you know what's going on, how much it costs, and all that, and then I'll call and let you know the details. And so I called him back after I found out, and I told him, look, it's $1,000 for the weekend. They do have room, you know, but I'd totally love to do it as long as you'd be willing to pay me half. He said, yeah, let's do it. I'll pay you half. That's fine.
Did she call you and tell you about the weekend in Huntington Beach?
Yes, she called me.
So tell me about the conversation.
She called me back and she said, you know, I really want to do something for the Millennium. You know, would you like to come with me and stay for the getaway?
Right.
And I said, sure, I would love to go. Basically, we never arranged for any payment or anything.
Well, how did you...
I paid for dinner that night when we went out to dinner, and then for drinks, it was an open bar, so we tipped the bartender several times throughout the course of the 2 days.
Well, did you think she was going to take you away for a 3-day holiday? Is that what you thought?
Well, I don't know. She was my girlfriend at the time, so I figured, you know, she was going to help me out, and we were going to spend a 2-day, you know, romantic little weekend.
It's not romantic when she's paying.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Sounds great. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Well, basically...
Not basically. Stop with the basically.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Schmid says former boyfriend Josh Vanderham owes her for half the cost of a Millennium getaway.
Did you discuss the cost?
Yes, we did, actually.
Okay, so let me hear about the discussion about the cost. Shh. I didn't ask you.
Oh.
I asked Mr. Vanderham.
Basically, she said it was $1,000, and she was going to put it on her credit card.
All right, Mr. Vanderham, we're not going to pull teeth here, sir.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you individual questions. Did she tell you what the room was, what the room cost?
Yes, it was $1,000.
And did she tell you what that included?
Yes, she did.
And you said, sounds great.
Sounds great. Sign me up.
Sounds great, sign me up.
Yeah.
Okay. Had you given her presents before?
Yes, we had Christmas before that.
So you gave her a present?
Yes.
What did you give her?
Several presents. Clothes.
Give me the big one.
Clothes. You know what? Actually, I don't really remember. It was clothes.
You went out and picked them out yourself?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And when you gave them to her, did you, what was it, a blouse or a shirt or something?
A dress. It was a couple items.
Couple of things.
Probably.
Did you tell her where you purchased them?
Yes.
Did you tell her how much they cost?
No.
Why didn't you tell her how much they cost?
Because it was Christmas and...
Because it was a gift?
Yes.
Right. Now, what your claim is, Mr. Vanderham, is that she was making a gift to you of this Millennium weekend, right?
That's correct.
So when one makes a gift to somebody, usually they do not discuss the cost of the gift with that person. They say, now you see where I'm going?
I see where you're going.
Yeah, I knew you'd see where I was going. You usually don't have a long conversation about what the room costs, what the meals are, that it includes entertainment, unless there is an expectation that you're going to be repaid. Because if you gave her a dress for Christmas, you wouldn't say, here, I bought you this dress for $149. Right? That would be tacky.
Yes.
It's the same kind of gift.
I hear you.
It's the same kind of gift. You hear me? All right, so the room was $500. So why are you suing him for $600?
Well, basically...
Not basically. Stop with the basically.
As far as the interest went on the credit card, it's about 12%, and the charges were incurred all the way in December. And
so you're charging for interest on your credit card?
Yes, and actually it was about $1,050 plus extra room charges and stuff. I have the credit card statement right here if you'd like to see it.
Now you say you paid for dinner, Mr. Vanderham. Was that a gift?
Yeah.
Basically. Basically.
You like my basically, huh?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What was the $200 for?
The $200 was for an extra. We had the witness and his girlfriend ended up staying with us in the room that weekend, and that was an extra $200. But they paid for that. They paid me money for that.
Is this the person who stayed in the room?
Yes, it is.
Is this your friend?
That's my best friend.
Still your best friend. So he's sitting
Yeah.
on that side.
He was there.
I don't know.
What? Step up here. David.
Yes.
David what?
Pollard.
Are you nervous?
A little bit.
Good. David, you and your girlfriend went and spent the weekend with them
Yes.
in Huntington Beach?
Yes.
And your tab was $200.
That's correct.
And this is your best friend.
Yes.
Didn't you think it was sort of fair to say, listen, if we have this room and the room's going to cost us a total of $1,200 for the four of us,
Mhm.
that we should split that in half?
I asked him about the cost of the
You
room.
asked who about the cost?
She.
No, who did you ask about the cost, David?
I actually asked both of them.
Both of them in the same, they were
No,
there at the
on
same
different phone calls. Kelly called me back and told me it would be $100 a person extra, and I said, well, you know, how much is the room? And she said, well, the room's a little over $1,000. And I said, well, is $100 then going to cover it? Do you want more? And she said, no, just, you know, pay for what extra fees they're going to charge us. And I said, okay, you know.
So she was a nice person.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
Before they even came to the picture, it was just going to be me and him splitting the entire cost. So I had already planned on just us agreeing to pay that much money. And like you said, they had offered, but, you know, I just told them that's fine, and we've already, you know, taken care of it. We've discussed it, and that's how it's going to work. So.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
43-year-old beautician Belinda Macias is suing her ex-husband, 48-year-old electrician Richard Gurton. Belinda says Richard sold their 17-year-old daughter's bedroom furniture. Richard says he did it because their daughter owes for a $400 phone bill.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 18 on the calendar in the matter of Macias versus Gurton. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat. Folks.
Mrs. Macias, how long have you been divorced?
Since August of 1985.
And you have how many children together?
One.
That's this young lady, I assume, right here.
Yes.
Tell me your first name.
Chantel.
How old are you?
17.
Chantel, do you think you've been an easy teenager?
I've had my ups and downs, but I really wasn't a bad teenager, no.
But ups and downs.
Yeah, ups and downs, of course.
This lawsuit is about a time that you were living with your father.
Yes.
You had lived with your father once before when you were younger, and then you lived with your mother, and then you ran away, and you lived with somebody else, and then ultimately you ended up with your father for a while.
Yes.
And that didn't work out,
No, Your Honor.
and you left.
Yes, I did. He was never there because he had to
And
work
you
all
left.
the time. I'm serious.
Your father says that when you left him a $400 long-distance phone bill, and he sold the bedroom furniture to pay for the phone bill, right?
That's correct.
So I have a couple of questions. Who bought the bedroom furniture?
I did, Your Honor.
When?
It was September 3rd of close to 2 years ago, a year and a half ago.
I drove up to Seattle and helped my ex move some things out of storage that she had in storage, and some of the items that were in there was a bedroom suite that did belong to my daughter, and
That was purchased by your former wife.
correct, and I brought it back to Portland and to my house, and I set her up in a bedroom there.
Great. And how long did your daughter live with you?
She moved in last May, and she stayed with me until the 29th of February of this year, Your Honor.
What happened in February?
Well, it was kind of a long road from May to February. I tried to...
Okay, let's keep it a very short road.
Okay.
The short road is things weren't working out.
Yeah, there were some frustrations, difficulties, discipline problems.
Okay. Did you ask her to leave, or did she leave on her own?
She left on her own, Your Honor.
Tell me about it.
I came home Tuesday from work, and there was a car parked in my driveway, Idaho license plates on it. I had no idea who owned the car. All I know that it was from Idaho. When I came into the house,
I just went to see where my daughter was, and she was sound asleep on her bed downstairs, and there was this other person wandering through my house at that time.
The other person was of the male or female
That was a
persuasion?
female, Your Honor. I don't know her approximate age, but I imagine 17, 18, 19, something like that.
Okay.
At that time, that kind of really agitated me because we'd been going through this. I'd asked my daughter repeatedly not to bring people over unless I had a chance to meet them, and if I approved of them, then it was fine, but she just disregarded that and just did as she pleased. I went upstairs and I found that there was some liquor taken out of my cupboard upstairs, and I confronted my daughter with it, and at that time she said to me, "It's not my problem, it's no big deal. It's my problem." And at that point, I just got kind of really frustrated, and I told her, I said, "Chantel, I think what we need to do here is I'm going to come home tomorrow. I'm going to put you on the bus, send you back up to your mom for a couple of days. I want to kind of sort things out here as what we can do because things aren't going very good here right now." At that point, when I told her what I was going to do, she just blew up and started ranting and raving and cursing at me. And she left with a friend, or that person that was there. And
Okay, so you told her that you were going to send her back to her mom's for a while, but she just left with the friend
that's correct,
in the
Your
car
Honor.
from Idaho.
Yes.
Where did you go when you left with your friend from Idaho?
I had went to my boyfriend's house, and I stayed the night.
Boyfriend?
Yeah,
This-
my boyfriend Sean Kelly. And
how long did you stay at his house?
2 nights.
Did anybody know where you were? Did you call your mom?
Yeah, I tried to call her. I did call her.
Try. No.
Actually,
Did you?
I did call her, but I
Did
didn't
you
get
speak
to
to
talk
her?
to her. No.
So nobody knew where you were. Your mother or your father didn't know where you were at the time?
No.
Okay. So after 2 nights at your boyfriend's house, where did you go?
I went to my mother's house,
Who drove you there?
Bristol.
The girl that you were with?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And when for the first time did you ask your dad for your furniture back?
Right after I moved out, and he told me that I owed him a phone bill, and I told him, yes, I'm sorry. I currently didn't have a job at the time, and I was in the position of getting one. But I told him I would be more than happy to make one. And
make a what?
A payment plan. And that he said he wanted everything in full right now, or, you know, I'm selling the furniture. He called me and said that he had a buyer for the furniture, and that if I didn't have it by Friday, that it was gone. And me and my mother, we drove down there the following weekend and to go get the furniture, and we popped in as a surprise, and he said that he had sold it. So
Popped in as a surprise?
Yeah, like, so we didn't let him know we were coming, so he couldn't, like, we caught him off guard, you know. And so he said that he had sold the furniture.
Mr. Gertman, let me tell you what your problems are, sir. Teenagers very often have very expensive phone bills. It's nice if teenagers pay them, but you can't set off her phone bill against furniture that you neither bought nor paid for. Her mother bought the furniture. Now, if you said to me, I sold the furniture was there in my house for my daughter to use when she was living with me, she's no longer living with me, I sold it, I would say you're absolutely right. But you got the furniture from her mother. You can't sell that furniture. And you can't sue your daughter for a phone bill because she's a minor. I know a lot of teenagers. $400 for a phone bill is a lot of money. Sometimes I would have had a big smiley on my face if the phone bill was only $400. You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Seems to me that the two of you should be working together, even though you're not married anymore, because your daughter seems to be running the show. You understand? You couldn't have thought that your former husband was such a bad guy if you said you try to take care of her for a while because she's beyond me.
Judge Judy continues. 10-year-old Chantal Gurton says her father, Richard Gurton, won't return her bedroom furniture.
So first you were a villain, then he was a villain. Now you're okay. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's what happens with teenagers, especially teenagers who are the children of divorce. Sometimes they like their mothers, sometimes they like their fathers, but they will always use one against the other. If you allow that to happen, you're being a fool. But you're entitled to the money for your furniture back because you paid for it. Let me see the bills for the furniture. Chantel, are you going to school?
Your Honor,
That was, suggests to me that that's not a quick yes.
I'll be starting in next month.
All right, so you see, the answer is no, you are not going to school. Are you working?
No.
So you're 17 and a half years old, you're neither working or going to school. Where's the boyfriend? How close does he live to you?
He lives with his friend next to me in Everett.
You live with a friend?
Yeah.
Not yet. Yes.
Yes.
Button up your shirt. Nice. If you come to court, don't show me your undershirt. Do you work?
Yes, I work.
For whom?
A roofing company.
Hmm?
A roofing company.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
Well, how much did you pay? $23.93?
Yes, Your Honor.
$23.93. And what is this for? Is this the same agreement?
There's one for the stereo mount, balance owing.
And
the
what's
other
the
for
balance
bed-
owing on the stereo?
$1,300 plus tax.
What'd you do with the stereo?
I sold it, Your Honor.
It's $36.93. That's what it comes to. Bedroom set and the stereo. How much did you sell it for?
$450.
It's going to cost you $36.93 to replace it. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's done numerous things in the past where she hasn't been accountable, and my only intent was trying to make her become accountable for some of the things she did.
I really did want to get to know my father and become close with him, but that didn't happen. And I'm hoping someday maybe there could be a chance.
Hey, sweetie.
And now the next case.
All parties on Radford versus Talbot. Step forward, please.
41-year-old Valerie Radford is suing her neighbors, Dwayne Talbot, his wife Terry, and their daughter, 16-year-old Ashley. Valerie says Ashley vandalized her garage with shaving cream.
Are you the daughter?
Yes.
You're the daughter who did the damage?
Yes.
Are you their neighbor?
Yes.
Father?
Yes.
Mother?
Yes.
Who are you?
Insurance broker.
Sit down, please. Shh. What kind of damage did you do to the plaintiff's house?
I put shaving cream on the side of her garage.
Why?
I was retaliating because her son threatened my brother.
What did the side of her garage have to do with that?
Well, I just got it with shaving cream.
Now, what did putting shaving cream on the side of her house, is the garage attached to the house?
Yes.
What did that have to do with this childhood squabble?
Well, I wasn't going to use eggs because eggs damage too much, and so I was just like...
What were you going to do anything for?
Because I was retaliating from what her son said to my brother.
Well, that's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
When did you do that?
It'll be a year in June.
Did she catch you doing it?
Yes.
Did you do it during the day or at night?
Night.
Did you expect to be caught?
No.
So far, you're honest. I give you that. Dumb, but honest.
Yes.
And your lawsuit is to be compensated for the damage that was done.
Yes.
To the side of your house.
Yes.
Do you have photographs of the house?
Yes, I do. And it's not just the garage, it's the stucco. And that's the problem. It can't be removed from the stucco.
Thank you. Is this that line?
Yes.
That's there? Did you try washing it off?
Yes.
When were these pictures taken?
About a week after.
Have you seen these pictures? Would you show them, please, to the defendants? So did you get estimates to paint
Yes,
the
I did. I
stucco?
have 3.
Can I see them, please?
The problem, my house is 10 years old. We moved in the neighborhood about the same year, and the paint can't be rematched. I mean, they brought books to try to match it. That's why they said the house has to be repainted. Because it's 10 years old, I mean, you know, the cracks and the normal wear and tear will have to absorb that, but it's just that we wouldn't be having to paint our house right now if this didn't happen.
Okay. Who do you want me to hear from?
The night that it happened, Valerie's husband came down to the house, told me what had happened, Ashley and I walked down, went immediately to talk to Valerie, and Valerie told us in no uncertain terms that she wanted us to do nothing, that it had already been taken care of. She then said that we should turn it over to our homeowner's insurance because her homeowner's insurance had said that ours should pay for it, which is exactly what I did. Now, the whole time I have admitted there's been I never challenged the fact of Ashley doing it. This is the size can of shaving cream. This is exactly. We turned it into our insurance agent. The insurance agent, which I have here, Ted, the adjuster went out. There was no damage.
Well, there is damage.
Well,
there was damage.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She and her children have flipped us off. She has used her profanity.
That's ridiculous. I mean, her daughter was 100% wrong. It's also 100% juvenile.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Valerie Radford says neighbor 16-year-old Ashley Talbot vandalized her garage with shaving cream.
You're the agent.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't aware that anybody came to my home.
They didn't have to go into your home to look at it, so we may have gone out. What is your last name, sir?
Talbot.
Well, their last name is Talbot. Are you related to them?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you related?
This is my brother Dwayne.
They do all of their insurance through your company?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you go out to look at the property?
Property was looked at after the claim was turned in August. It was observed. The case was negotiated with the adjuster, with the other party, and per the records that I've got, it was closed on October 6th.
What do you mean it was? I don't understand that. You mean the two adjusters got together from the two insurance companies? Who got together?
The insurance company got together with, I was informed, spoke with the defendant.
With the plaintiff?
Plaintiff, sorry. The case has been closed as of October 6th.
Well, but did you ever get a check from the insurance company?
I was never notified. No one ever spoke with me about it. The only thing I've gotten is being called names when I drive through the neighborhood. And
well, that's ridiculous. You have no proof that your company ever paid out a claim?
No.
Well, then it wasn't settled, because if the adjuster went out and spoke to them and your company closed the file, then it closed the file erroneously because she was never compensated, according to you.
That is correct.
So what are you doing here? Do you have anything to add to this case?
Nothing further.
Perfect. Sit down.
When Valerie talks about calling names, first of all, we very, very, very seldom drive by her home. That's number one.
No, when I drive
Number two is every time she has driven by our house, she and her children have flipped us off. She has used her profanity. Even in public places, she has used her profanity. All that we asked was for this to be over and to leave us alone.
Well, first we have to resolve this issue of the house. I've read your answer, and your answer suggests that this was just some shaving cream and it can be washed off. But I've seen the photographs, and it certainly appears that there is some, and I agree, minor discoloration between where you put the shaving cream and the house. Minor. Unfortunately, to make it right, she will be forced to repaint it and power wash it because of what you did, if she wants it to look the same. So it's going to cost you more then, and I think that you have to take that up with your brother-in-law. I mean, your brother-in-law did not do the right thing if it was closed. That's ridiculous. You have homeowner's insurance. Your homeowner's insurance should cover that. This is not difficult. The money part isn't difficult. The other part is more difficult. You have children?
Yes, I do.
You have boys?
2 boys and a girl.
Is it the boys that are having trouble with her son?
And they're 19 years of age. Mine is.
Well, you all got to get your boys in tow, because your boys are going to move out of the house, hopefully sooner rather than later, and you're going to be left as neighbors.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I mean, her daughter was 100% wrong. There's no question about that, but it's also 100% juvenile, and certainly not a good example for children, for your children, or your children, I don't know who's right or wrong, to see their parents acting in an inappropriate way. You would agree with that, right?
Yes.
You would agree with that, right?
Yes.
So if your boys are behaving badly, don't encourage them by setting a bad example. And in addition, if you're neighbors, you live next door to each other. It's terrible to have to pull into a driveway and feel uncomfortable, to have to walk down the street, to have to drive your car down the street and have your back up all the time. It's ridiculous. Life is too short. Ladies, life is much too short. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,200. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step.
Cab driver Steve Stover is suing 24-year-old waitress Angela Morton and her friend, 23-year-old sales agent Jessica Shibley, for false prosecution. They claim Steve was arrested because he fractured Jessica's cheekbone when he hit her with a credit card machine.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 89 on the calendar in the matter of Stover versus Morton Shibley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
You're Mr. Stover.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's April?
My cousin right there.
Could you step up, April, because you're very much involved with this sad tale that I really tried very hard to organize with limited success. But from what I gather, you and your cousin were out for an evening.
Me, my cousin, and my friend Tammy there.
And you were at some sort of a club?
Yes, ma'am.
And these two ladies were also trying to get into the club.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to you, something happened between April and these two young ladies. They thought she said something untoward to them, or that she smiled and said they couldn't get in and we did. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So after the club was over, you went back to April's house?
Yes.
And when you got to April's house, you found these two ladies there, waiting for her.
Yes, ma'am. I got there first, and they were setting up the street waiting.
Did you have a conversation with them?
When I pulled in the driveway, they pulled down, and yes, I had a conversation with them.
What did you say to them, and what did they say to you?
It was just a casual conversation. They asked me where April was and when she'd be home, and told them that she was on her way. She'd went to go get pizza.
And after April came home, that's when all this fracas started. And your lawsuit, Mr. Stover, says that one of these two young ladies, that's Angela. Which one is Angela?
I am.
That Angela broke the window on your car with her shoe.
Yes.
She acknowledges that she did that. She says she was defending herself. She was aiming for you and you ducked. That's your defense.
Well, yes.
That's what I read here. You also claim that Jessica, that's you,
Yes, ma'am.
had you arrested for assault, as a result of which you had lost earnings, you drive a cab, couldn't drive for 4 months.
Yes, ma'am. It was malicious wounding, which was a felony.
And those charges were ultimately dismissed.
The first charges were, then they appealed it to a higher charge, aggravated malicious wounding, which it was a worse 20 years to life.
And was that also dismissed?
Yes, ma'am.
After a trial?
Yes, ma'am.
So there was a full trial?
There was a full trial.
Where you testified and she testified?
Yes.
So you are suing Jessica for having you falsely arrested and loss of income. She is counterclaiming because she says that you assaulted her with some sort of a machine that takes credit cards, imprints.
Yes, ma'am. I have that with me.
You acknowledge that you did, in fact, hit her with that.
Yes, ma'am. It's self-defense.
Okay, so that's what the case is about. So let's get back to the girls are there waiting for April. April has her pizza and comes back to the house. Okay? What is the very next thing that happened? You want to tell me, April?
Jessica called me over to her car. So I walked over to her car. And
You had known her from before that evening?
Yeah. As far as I knew, we were friends. We had talked every time we'd seen each other out. We had talked to each other.
Okay. So she called you over to her car?
Yes. I walked over to her car, asked her what was going on. As soon as I did that, she reached out, grabbed me by the back of my hair, twisted me, and had me upside down in her car. The top of my head was in her lap.
Okay. Then what happened?
I asked her what was going on. She said I was talking or dancing with her boyfriend. which was not true. We were there maybe 10 minutes at that club.
She still got you in the car?
She has me in this underneath with my head.
So you're talking?
Yeah, I was trying to talk nice and calm to her, and I thought we were friends at that time,
Okay, well, clearly at that time she didn't want to be your friend.
Evidently not.
So what happened?
I just kept asking her why she was doing it, and I yelled for Steve. I was like, Steve, come over here and tell her what we did. So Steve eventually comes over.
And what happened, Steve, when you walked over?
Well, when she first hollered for me, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't realize the seriousness of it. And then I eventually went over there and seen what was going on. And we both were trying to reason with Jessica. We told her whatever we did, we laughed at you, we were sorry. And that's when Angie got out of the other side.
Who was driving?
Angie.
Go ahead.
And she got out, and when she come out, she had a lock blade knife, and she brandished it to Brad and myself. And it pretty much scared us right bad. Then she got back in the driver's side, and as far as I could see, she folded the knife up and put it in the middle console. So that's when I was worried for her, because the way her head was in the car, you know, I was...
Her head was still in the car?
Yes, her head was still in... I was thinking the worst, you know, she could have got cut or anything. So I did what I had to do. I beat down on Jessica's arms and got April's hair loose. And she fell back onto the ground. Then they got mad because I'd got her loose. They chased me to my truck. Jessica was first chasing me, and I was running to my truck trying to get to the phone so I could call the police. I didn't know who had the knife at the time. So I used to work for a frozen food company selling frozen food, so I had a credit card machine. And I grabbed the first thing I could out of my truck, and I've got the credit card machine here if you'd like to see it.
I would.
Okay. This is the credit.
Gotcha.
That's the credit card machine. I grabbed it out of the truck. I swung it around just wildly, not knowing, just trying to protect myself because I thought she had the knife with her. I didn't know who had the knife. That's when she got flattened on the ground, and then
Who got flattened?
Jessica knocked her down.
Got flattened.
I got into the truck. And Angie was still on her way to the truck. I locked the door. I was on the phone with the state police, and that's when she took this shoe and smashed the side window out of my truck. It shattered it. And it's like they ran off. They said they were going to get reinforcements. I was on the phone with the state police. They were connecting me with the Roanoke City police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says he was acting in self-defense when he hit Jessica Shibley in the face with a credit card machine. He claims that Jessica had him falsely prosecuted. Jessica is countersuing for her injuries.
Now, as a result of this, Jessica, you suffered some very serious injury.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you suffered this serious injury, you were right near his truck.
Actually, I just stepped out of the car.
You were right near his truck?
Well, about a car length away, yes, ma'am.
Well, let's go back a little bit. What were you two ladies doing going to her house?
We did go to her house.
For what?
To question her about what had happened at the bar. We were not even in the bar.
What do you mean question her?
Well,
what does that mean, question her?
They had made some comments that upset me, so I went to
What
ask
kind
them
of
about
comments?
it. Something about us not being able to get in. They thought that was really funny.
So they laughed at you?
Yes, ma'am.
That you couldn't get into the club and they did?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you went to question them about?
Yes, ma'am.
Where had you been before that evening?
We had just been out and about.
What do you mean out and about? What does that mean, out and
We
about?
had been downtown. In
Downtown
our
where?
Local places where we live, downtown Roanoke. Some different nightclubs and things down there.
All right, so you'd been to some clubs that evening?
Yes, ma'am.
How many clubs had you been to that evening?
We just rode, we didn't even go in one downtown. We had stopped at a little place on Williamson Road before we proceeded to go to the one they were at.
Okay. So then you go to April's house to discuss with her.
Yes, ma'am.
Her laughing at you.
Yes, ma'am.
And who grabbed her in a headlock?
She wasn't in a headlock.
Who grabbed her in a headlock and grabbed her
By
hair?
the back of the hair after she stuck her head in the car.
She stuck her head in the car
Yes,
to talk to you.
When she come to the car, she stuck her head in the car.
And what did she say?
She basically asked me what I wanted, and that's when I did grab her by the back of the head.
You grabbed her by the back of the hair. If you're sitting in the car and grabbed her by the back of the hair, then her head's in the car.
Yes, ma'am.
You have no right to do that.
You're right.
That started all the trouble.
Yeah.
Ended up you got your face bashed in.
Yes, ma'am.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
You think you deserve to get paid for that?
I don't deserve to have to pay him.
Why not?
I never laid a hand on him.
You started it. Julie, you started it. You want to show me the picture so that I can see just how dumb you are? That's pretty dumb. You had your cheekbone fractured?
Broken.
Broken. Fractured means broken.
Oh, yeah.
Broken. Huh. You had surgery?
Yes, ma'am.
That's pretty bad. What kind of knife was there?
There was no.
Don't tell me there was no knife. I don't want to hear there was no knife. Do you understand? I don't want to hear there was no knife. Now, it could have been a little knife. It could have been one of those little red knives. What do they call those? Swiss Army knives. You know.
I never held a knife. I never seen a knife.
Yeah.
And that is after my surgery. The police would not release the other pictures before the thing.
Oh, I'm sure they were terrible.
Yes.
Who do you have to blame for that?
Steve?
No! You! He was protecting his cousin.
No, his cousin was in the house when I had gotten hit. Angela was out of
Just
the car.
a minute. If her cousin was in the house,
After
and you had
this
come
happened-
to speak, listen to me. If she had run into the house because her head got loose, right? And you had finished your conversation with her,
Yes, ma'am.
what were you doing out of the car?
Because as I looked over to leave Angela, she was gone out of the car. I stepped out of the car to check on her, and that's
What do you
when I
mean
got-
check on her? What was she doing out of the car?
I have no idea. All I know, as it was going on, they were yelling about guns and everything. So I look over and she's gone. I get out to make sure she's okay, and that's when I got hit. No one chased anyone. I got hit as soon as I stepped in the grass.
What did you step in the grass for? Why didn't you stay in the car?
I got out to check on her. That's my fault.
And
for
crossed
being
your
a
broken
friend.
face. You started this trouble. I believe him when he says that there was a knife in the console of the car, that he had seen it. Oh, I believe that. So your counterclaim is dismissed. Whatever bills you had for your face, take care of them. You went over there to cause trouble that evening. There's no question in my mind that you did. And you got it. You got more trouble than you bargained for. Well, that sometimes happens to bullies. Bullies sometimes get the short end of the stick.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I didn't smash his window in. I threw my shoe. And
You told
it
me
hit
in
his
your
window.
answer, madam, that you were aiming for him.
No, I threw my shoe at him, and it hit
Right.
his-
What word didn't you understand that I said?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve Stover is suing Angela Morton and Jessica Shibley for having him falsely prosecuted and for smashing his windshield.
So the police were called, right?
Yes, ma'am.
When were you stopped?
The police never come to us. We went up the street, which my mother lives 3 houses up the street from this. We went to another friend's house, and she called the ambulance. The ambulance come, the police come. I went straight to emergency room.
And what'd you break his window for?
I broke his window because he was trying to leave, and she was laying on the ground, and I was scared, so I just threw my shoe. I wasn't running up to his truck, and I didn't smash his window in. I threw my shoe.
You told me in your answer, madam, that you were aiming for him.
No, I threw my shoe at him, and it hit
Right.
his
That's what you
truck.
said. What word didn't you understand that I said? You said in your answer, I was aiming for him, and he ducked, and I hit the window.
Yes.
Why?
Because she was laying on the ground. I didn't know what he was going back in his truck to get, if he was going to hit me.
What were you doing out of your car?
I was out of my car because they were screaming stuff. I didn't want them to run up on me and hit me.
They weren't running anywhere. She was in the house, according to your friend, and he had walked away. So what did you get out of your car for?
I got out of my car because him and Brad were hollering stuff.
And you didn't like that they were hollering stuff. You have
No, I didn't know
Did you
what
ever
they
hear
were going to
sticks
do.
and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me?
I didn't know what they were going to do. I didn't want to be
What,
sitting
well,
in the
if you
car
don't know what
anymore.
they're going to do, madam, then you get in your car and you go away. You don't get out of your car to confront them, especially when you've been the aggressor. You don't get out of your car. You stay in your car, and you go to her mother's house, which is 3 houses away. So you were arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I was running. After I got my cousin loose, we all scattered. We were running to get away from the trouble. They chased me to the truck.
I believe that they chased you to the truck. Oh, I believe that they chased you to the truck. So you were, in fact, arrested.
Yes, I was.
How long were you incarcerated?
I explained the story, what happened to the magistrate at the time, and he let me out on my own recognizance.
Now, why do you say you lost earnings?
Okay, originally, the first charge, when it was dismissed, they brought up new charges and made it aggravated malicious wounding, and it was a felony. And the city of Roanoke will not allow you, even though I hadn't been convicted, they will not allow me to have my cab license.
Now, let me ask you this question. How many witnesses testified at the criminal trial?
Myself, April, Tammy, and Brad.
Tammy, you were there?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up here, please. Do you know these two young ladies?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see Jessica get hit in the face?
Yes, ma'am. I saw everything.
Saw everything?
Yes, ma'am. I was standing right there when everything happened.
I would like you to tell me how close Jessica was to the truck when she got hit in the face.
She was at the door to the truck because Steve reached in and he turned around and Jessica was there because they both ran past me to get to the truck. I was standing next to the car when everybody jumped out.
She wasn't a truck length away.
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, did you see Steve run to the truck?
I saw Steve run to the truck because April went flying. Steve immediately ran to the truck past me, right next to me. Jessica jumped out of the car, ran past me.
She jumped out of the...
She came barreling out of the car. I mean, she jumped out of the car.
How far did she have to run to get to the truck?
About a car and a half length.
But she was right behind him?
She was right behind him.
And where was Angela at this time?
Angela was on the other side of the car, and she jumped out of the car at the same time Jessica did.
Did she run up behind Jessica?
She was at the door. As soon as Steve hit Jessica, Steve jumped in the car, locked the window. Angela was right there at the truck and smashed the window.
I have all the receipts also for a rental car.
No, I don't need anything. You're suing the defendants, both defendants, for $5,000. You're claiming that as a result of their actions, you were arrested, you had to go through 2 trials. Were you given a public defender, or did you have to hire a lawyer?
I got a public defender.
And you went through how many days of trial?
The latter half of the trial lasted from about 12:30 in the afternoon to 6 in the evening, and then it was held over. The judge said he would make his decision. He was going to read over all the paperwork, and I had to come back the 26th.
How many witnesses did you have at the trial?
1. Just 1.
Evidently, the judge didn't believe you. Me neither. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Your counterclaims dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues. Obra is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old truck driver Eric Reedy, for vandalizing her apartment and stealing her clothes. Eric is countersuing for unpaid loans.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 180 on the calendar in the matter of Obra versus Reedy. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Reedy,
Yes, ma'am.
let's try to make this as painless as possible, okay?
Okay.
Were you very angry with Miss Obra, with whom you were living?
Was I angry with her?
Mm-hmm.
Disappointed?
Disappointed because it wasn't working out?
She turned out to be a woman that I didn't think I was wanting to spend my life with.
And did she tell you that she didn't want to spend her life with you?
In hindsight, maybe she would say, and then she would change her mind. She's very
My
unpredictable.
question, Mr. Reedy, is, were you angry enough to trash her house?
No, ma'am.
You didn't do that.
No, ma'am.
What about her clothes, Mr. Reedy? Did you do anything with her clothes?
Her clothes? No, ma'am.
Nothing.
Nothing. I have no reason to take her clothes. I don't. What do I do with them? I mean, it's just a...
Well, sometimes you do that because you're really angry. Didn't
No,
do it. All right, Miss Oprah, that's your lawsuit. Your lawsuit says that you and the defendant were living together for a brief period of time.
Yes.
He made certain accusations against you,
Yes.
that you were cheating on the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and then an incident occurred. You didn't go home that night.
Yes.
When was that?
That was on June 7th.
And you had received a telephone call from him?
Yes.
What was the
day.
telephone call?
He said that he knew I was cheating and that he was just moving out.
He was moving out?
Yep.
Had it been your apartment or his apartment?
Mine.
And what happened when you got home the next day?
I had my boss here, Monica, escort me home. The previous night we had gotten a fight and he pulled a knife and threatened to kill himself, and I had her escort me home, and my apartment was completely trashed. I do have pictures.
I'd like to see it. Have more than one?
Yes. If I may say that he knows me very well, and he knew that I loved my clothes, I loved my music, and my astrology. And he shredded my astrology books, smashed my stereo, and took every single article of clothing. I mean, everything. Dirty clothes, socks, underwear, bras, everything. Jackets, dresses, every last article of clothing I had. If you notice in one of the pictures as well, where the drawers are empty, all of my daughter's shoes remain, and in the little holes where mine were are all gone. He also urinated all over my bathroom.
Step up. Yes. You escorted the plaintiff to her house?
That's correct.
What kind of job does she do for you?
Melissa's my customer service agent.
What kind of business is it?
It's an air freight trucking company.
How long has she been working for you?
She's been working there almost a year.
Tell me about the conversation you had with her when she asked you to escort her home.
Well, it was a very brief conversation. She just said that Eric had moved out of the apartment and that she was afraid that he might still be there, or she really didn't know what to expect, but she wanted someone to escort her home. And I offered to do it since I used to live in Torrance and I was visiting my grandmother that afternoon, so it was very convenient for me to go down there at the same time she was going home.
And would you describe the condition of the apartment when you got there?
You walked in, and as she mentioned, the stereo was right in the front of the door, and that had been trashed. Her tablecloth was trashed. All her clothes in the bedroom were missing, everything. Drawers were open. There was nothing left in the house.
Except your baby's things?
Yes, my daughter.
Your daughter was not living with you?
Yes.
Where was she the night before?
At the night before I went home, at her grandparents' house.
And where did you sleep?
At my friend Raquel's house.
Did you see any evidence that anybody had urinated all over the bathroom?
Oh, yes. We went through the house together. It was very evident.
Does anybody else have a key to your apartment?
No, the manager. And that's it. And it was locked when I got home. It wasn't open or ajar.
It was locked?
Yep.
Was it double locked or was it just single locked?
No, just the
It was
bottom.
closed?
Yep.
Was there any evidence of forced entry?
No, none at all.
Did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
Do you have a police report?
I don't have it on me.
Were you contacted by the police?
Your Honor, I was woken up at about 11 o'clock at night when she had the police come to my house because I had moved back to my parents' house. I didn't even expect this. I wanted just to move on with my life, you know, just end this whole thing. She's a very vindictive woman. Okay, I haven't done anything but help this woman since I've met her 5 years. I've raised her daughter practically. Her daughter's never even around. She picks her up once every couple weeks. She goes on these binges, wants to hang out with her friends all the time, party all the time, doing drugs and things of this nature all the time. I couldn't handle it. I put up with it for 5 years. 5 years, on and off for 5 years. She calls my house, my parents' work, my dad's business, looking for my whereabouts. She pages me.
Still?
Nonstop. Yes, I have a page on my page right now. It says 911 on there. She paid me. If I'm this bad of a person, why does she continue
When
on
did
trying
you get that page?
Probably about a week ago.
What did you page him for?
911.
I did not page him. I did not page him.
I get contacted by this woman. She calls my house, harasses, tells me that she's going to make my life miserable. I just want to
When was
make
the
it
last time she called you?
about a week ago. I didn't answer the phone. It was my mom answered the phone.
Just a second. Are you telling me that a week ago she called your house and spoke to your mother?
She spoke to my mother, my father. She calls his business all the time.
That was a week ago.
A week ago.
Are you telling me that you did not make those calls?
No.
You did
I
not?
did not.
You never spoke to his mother a week ago?
Not a week ago, no, I didn't.
2 weeks ago?
In the beginning of June, when this incident first happened, I did.
No, not the beginning of June. 2 weeks ago?
No.
So the last time you might have spoken to his mother was maybe 6 weeks ago?
Yes.
Before this incident happened or after?
No, after. I was trying to see if they can talk him into giving back my stuff. And I also, at 11:30 at night, I did bring the sheriff's department over to his house to keep the peace because I didn't want it to get out of control, just to see if he could give back my stuff.
Your Honor, this...
Now you say she called your mother a week ago.
She's called my... a week ago, could have been a week and a half ago, but she's called on
What was the conversation that your mother reported to you that she had with her?
My mom had told me, Melissa had called, she had called my dad's office looking for me, trying to get in contact with me. And I had told her, I said, when she calls, hang up the phone.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says her ex-boyfriend, Eric Reedy, vandalized her apartment and stole her clothes. Eric denies the charges.
Well, did she speak to her?
Did my mom speak? My mom's spoken with her a week ago. Yeah.
You sure about that?
I'm pretty sure. She's told me a week ago.
Pretty sure?
Pretty sure. She called every week, every day for about 3 weeks in a straight.
What's your mother's phone number?
514.
Just a minute. And your mother's last name?
Mrs. Maria Reedy.
Now, you say that she called your father as well. When was the last time she called your father?
It was probably about 2.5 to 3 weeks. I know it was before I had lost my job because she had, and this person right next to her, they had, I was working for a truck, I'm a truck driver, okay? I got a DUI or not DUI, wet reckless in '96, and that haunts my record. They had threatened, because I had moved out, she had threatened to call my job and fax them my 10-year DMV printout because insurance won't insure me with a wet reckless that haunts you. Well, they had went ahead. I was already working there for about a month. They knew about it, but they had put, I guess, toward the board or whatever they went ahead and did, and I had lost my job because they had faxed them a DMV printout. And
did you fax his boss a DMV printout?
No, I did not.
You did not?
No.
Did you?
No, I did not.
Do you know about a DMV printout?
No, but I know that he does have 2 DUIs.
2 DUIs?
But how am I able to...
2 DUIs?
I'm not able to get a DMV printout of somebody
What makes you
else's.
think she did that?
Because she had threatened me when she called me up one day when I was at work. She called me and she said, listen, she goes, I'm going to make your life miserable. I'm going to call your job. I'm going to call
Was this after the clothing incident?
After supposedly I took her clothes.
Okay. Is this Mrs. Reedy? Mrs. Reedy, this is Judge Judy Sheindlin. How are you this afternoon? I just have a brief question for you. Something has come up in this lawsuit that I am trying involving your son and Miss Obra. Can you tell me when the last time you spoke with Miss Obra? Was it after your son had moved back home? It was? Okay. Tell me about the conversation that you had with her, that 6 a.m. telephone call. Mm-hmm. Okay, but the last time you spoke to her was 2 to 3 weeks ago, you think? Okay, well, you were most helpful. Thank you. Bye-bye. So I come away with several things from speaking to your mother. First of all, your mother says that to the best of her recollection, the last time she spoke to Miss Obra was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, not last week. And the conversation occurred at 6 o'clock in the morning when you called there. Do you remember that? Calling about 6 o'clock in the morning?
Possibly.
And you spoke both to Miss Reedy and to her husband?
Yes.
Now that conversation was about her clothes. Asking for her clothes. So there's no question that she has a legitimate belief that you, in fact, took her clothes. Mm-hmm. Your mother is delightful. Your mother says that she checked the clothes are not in your house. That doesn't mean you didn't take them and throw them in a ravine someplace. Ditch them, throw them in a sewer or whatever on your way home. I don't think, Mr. Reedy, that you would have been stupid enough to bring them back to your house. That would have been ridiculous. There is no evidence of forcible entry into the apartment. The apartment was locked when she got there, which means that anybody who entered that apartment had a key, since there was no forced entry. All of those things beginning to make sense to you, Mr. Reedy?
Yes, ma'am, but
Yeah.
on the concern with her clothes, she had almost most of her stuff moved out pretty much, because she had told me the day, she said, you know what, I'm going to be turning, I don't want to be here no more, and I said, that's fine. She goes, I'm going to tell the landlord I'm going to put in a 30-day notice. She had clothes, I guess, over friends, because she wasn't coming home at all. She had her clothes.
That made you pretty mad.
Huh? No, I realized it was not a type of person I wanted to be with. She runs away from everything. She just
I got you, Mr. Reedy.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was writing checks for $650, and she would always say, I'll pay you next week when I get a check. I'll pay you next week. I was paying the rent. I was paying groceries. I was
Mr.
paying all
Reedy,
the bills.
you're doing a fast dance, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melissa Obra says after she broke up with former boyfriend Eric Reedy, he trashed her apartment and stole her clothes.
You have a counterclaim for $1,325.
Yeah.
It is your claim that on February 2nd of 2000, you loaned Melissa $1,000 for a car she wanted.
Yeah.
And then you say in April of 2000, you gave her a second loan for $650 for rent.
Yes.
I want you to first tell me about the car loan.
Okay, on that previous date, she had expressed that she needed a new car because of so much mileage on her old car, and I understood. I had just bought a new car myself, and she wanted another car. And
Did you take $1,000 from him?
Yes, it was a gift for Valentine's Day because he got a $40,000 settlement.
Your Honor, I have the check with the check says car loan on there, and this is a type of things I've been going through, just
Okay.
lying
Melissa,
all the time.
Valentine's Day came and went. You're no longer together. You think you should give him back $1,000?
No, I think it was a gift.
What did you get him for Valentine's Day?
I took him to dinner and a dozen roses that night.
Dinner and a dozen roses isn't $1,000. What about the $650?
For the
That's
rent.
a lie.
I have the check right here, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please?
On the bottom of that car loan check, it says car loan specifically, and with her name signed on the top.
Well, the problem with this, sir, is I don't know when you wrote in car loan. You can't tell from this.
Well, I got...
Look at me, Mr. Reedy. Do you know what I'm saying to you, sir? She says it was a gift for Valentine's Day. It's on February 13th, which is the day before Valentine's Day. So, is it a possibility? Yes. Do I find that she should give you the $1,000 back? Yes.
Can I also say as well that the reason why he got me that gift was because for 8 months he was using my car to go to his trucking school.
Okay. $650, Madra Enterprise.
That's our rent place.
How much is your total rent?
$650.
Okay, who was paying the rent?
We were both halving it. I gave him cash, and he gave check. He
I have
would
bank
give me
statements, Your Honor, that
300.
show that I wrote the check for. I would write the check, and usually she would give me a check back.
Just a minute. Just a minute. If the whole rent was $650,
Yeah.
and you wrote out the check for $650, right, for that month,
Yeah.
and you say she gave you $325.
She gave me $325.
She gave you $325.
Yeah.
That would mean $325. The other $325 was your share of the rent.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, Your Honor, is this was going on. I was writing checks for $650, and she would always say, I'll pay you next week when I get a check. I'll pay you next week. I was paying the rent. I was paying groceries. I was
Mr.
paying all the
Reedy,
bills.
you're doing a fast dance, sir. Pay attention to what I'm
Yeah, I
saying and
understand
what
what
you
you're
wrote
saying.
down here in your counterclaim. I gave her a second loan of $650 for the rent.
Yes.
She promised to pay it back the following Friday, but only gave me $325.
Yeah.
$325, which would have been her half of the rent.
I expressed it wrong. That's
Okay,
all.
well, you expressed it wrong. I can't help you. Now, how are you going to establish the value of this damaged and stolen property?
I mean, I don't know if you know how it is to have every single article of clothing taken away from you, and all you're left with is the clothes on your back.
Well, but I don't know if you spent $5,000 on a wardrobe, madam. Show me any bills, any receipts for clothing. Any. I have to find some way of assessing damage.
I don't.
Did you go out and replace any of the clothing?
Yes, I did.
Do you have any receipts for that?
No, I don't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Opportunity, inclination are two things that the court can consider in making a determination as to whether an incident occurred. You certainly had the opportunity to take her property and to leave the house in the state in which it was left. The inclination that I find that you also had was because this romance was ending badly. According to you, she was going out at night, not telling you where she was, taking off for weekends, and you clearly didn't like that. The person who took all of this property left the child's clothing intact. Child's clothing and the child's shoes intact, which leads me to believe, Mr. Reedy, that Miss Oprah did have a loss of property, and that more likely than not, you were in fact responsible for taking her clothes. I believe you did not take them to your mother and father's house. I believe that they are probably in a dumpster someplace. So I am going to attribute $3,500 for your clothes, and from that I am deducting $1,000 for the car loan that he made to you, and I am issuing a judgment on your complaint for $2,500, not the $5,000 that you are requesting, because, sir, on your counterclaim, I am awarding you $1,000. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
35-year-old homemaker Sheila Carter is suing 28-year-old pet groomer Lori Wickman for the death of her bird, Misty Blue. Sheila says after Lori clipped the bird's nails, it bled to death.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 251 on the calendar in the matter of Carter versus Wickman. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats, huh?
Ms. Carter, based upon your complaint, I gather that you've used the defendant's services as a pet groomer before for your other animals. Is that right?
Yes, it is. I have. I loved her service on my dogs.
You claim that you took a parrot or a cockatoo or a big bird that you had to her, and she cut the bird's nails.
Correct.
And the bird bled to death. That's what your lawsuit is about.
That's right.
What kind of bird was it?
A lesser softened crested cockatoo. Big name.
And how much did you pay for her?
I traded a rose embroidery machine. We bartered an even trade for Misty Blue at $1,500. And I've got the papers and got the... Your Honor, she told me $1,200.
No. Well, you set the price. You and the person that you bartered with set the price.
Right.
Where'd you buy it from?
Deb Wallstatt, my witness.
Step up, please. You're Deb?
Yes.
How long have you raised these birds?
7 years.
If I went into a pet store to buy one of these birds, what would I pay for it? If I called a local bird store?
$1,600 to $1,800.
And you're a good friend?
No, I've only met her once.
When you sold her the bird, did you give her any instructions on taking care of the bird?
Yes.
Grooming, etc., nails?
Yes.
Et cetera? You gave her instructions?
Yes, I gave her a booklet.
Okay, have a seat.
Thank you.
I may come back to you again.
Okay.
So you bought the bird in January of 2000.
That's right.
When did you take the bird to the defendant?
I took it in June on a Thursday. I don't know the date.
So in June, after 6 months. After 6 months, you took the bird
to get her nails trimmed because I have little nieces and nephews, and she's so sweet. She would go to the children, but the children were like 5, so I didn't want her to scratch. So I just wanted her nails trimmed so the children could pick her up. She was just a sweetheart.
Tell me about the conversation when you showed up with the bird.
I asked her if she could trim my bird's fingernail. She said she wasn't really prepared, but sure, we'll do it. Let's do it. She moved the dog off the table, and she put my bird on the table.
And that's how you remember it. She said, I'm not really prepared.
Right. She said, I'm not really prepared. And she had a dog on her table. She put the dog down. She goes, let's do your bird. Let's do it.
And what happened when she trimmed the bird's nails?
Big drops of blood. Misty got away from her, fell to the ground, and then she couldn't walk on her nails because she was so hurt. She kind of rolled around.
So the first time she cut one nail, was there any blood?
Gobs. Yes, ma'am.
So
gobs,
why didn't she...
drops.
So after she cut the first nail and there were gobs of blood, why didn't she take the bird and leave?
I did not know that she did anything wrong. You know, I figured she knew what she was doing. It was not an issue to take my bird.
Did you read the book she gave you?
Mm-hmm.
The book say anything about trimming the nails and bleeding?
It was normal. Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
No.
So then she cut the second nail. Was it bleeding?
Mm-hmm.
And then all the bird's nails bled as she cut them?
Yes.
Okay. Then the bird's flailing all over the place. And then what happened?
She did not even have no bird stopper. The ointment to quick or powder to stop the blood. She had a little container with empty, and she kept taking my Misty Blue and she kept rubbing its nail like this, and there was nothing to help my Misty Blue.
And then what happened?
I picked Misty Blue up and I left, and she invited me to a lingerie party. I could just pay her there at the lingerie party that night.
So you took the bird and you put the bird in the car?
Yep.
And
I was going to take Misty Blue home. When I got Misty Blue to my house, Misty Blue was dead. And I went and buried Misty Blue in my backyard.
Did you call
the
defendant?
Yes, I did.
What did you tell her?
I told her Misty Blue died. She told me she was going on a wedding, a marriage.
Yes.
And that was it. She would deal with me 10 days when she got back. She was getting married. She had no time for Misty Blue's death.
Okay, let's hear your version of the events, which is somewhat different from the plaintiff's.
Thank you. Everything so far, I disagree with almost all of it. First of all, it was the beginning of April. It was 2 weeks before my wedding. She didn't come into my shop. She walked to my front door. My place of business is my home. Met her at the front door. I said, I don't do birds. I'm a custom dog groomer. Take it to a vet. The local vets will not do nail cutting. You have to take it to an avian veterinarian. Well, she didn't want to do that. She didn't have money, blah, blah, blah. Please.
Well, what did
you
say? Now, shh.
Okay, I didn't know I couldn't talk.
Don't interrupt.
As
Okay,
a
I'm sorry.
friend, please do me this favor as a friend, as a friend. And I said, as a friend, I will do it. I'm not going to charge you any money.
Ms. Carter,
I will do it as
stop
a friend.
sighing. This is not a presidential debate. Go ahead.
She brought the bird down. I did not put the bird on a grooming table. I said, if I'm going to do this, I want you present, not only present, but to be involved in the clipping. And she held the bird in her hands while I clipped the nails. And as I was peering them back slowly, taking piece by piece on the first nail, she stopped me and said, no, 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 I want them shorter than that. Cut them shorter. And I said, Sheila, they're going to bleed. No, it always does that. That's normal. That's no big deal. It does that all the time. So I took
Am I
it back
saying
a little
this to
Now,
you?
listen to me, Miss
Yep.
Carter. Do
That's
not
right. That's
speak.
what you said. I then continued on clipping the nails. I told her, I explained to her that, you know, they're going to bleed. I had plenty of quick stop. I run a full-service grooming salon. I did stop the bleeding immediately. Every nail that was clipped was then, you know, cauterized with the quick stop.
They're not supposed to bleed.
Oh, they do bleed if you cut them back that far.
No, I understand. If you cut them back that far,
If
of
she will
course,
let
if you
me-
cut somebody's nail that far, you get the skin, they bleed.
Right.
She was telling you cut them shorter and shorter, and you were cutting them shorter and shorter, and the bird was bleeding.
And I told her, I said, I'm doing this under protest, Sheila. I don't want to cut them that short. And she said, oh, they're really, really long. I don't care if they bleed.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I finished with the nail clipping. The bird was full of blood. She dropped it twice. I had her holding the bird. She dropped it twice on the floor. Then when she was gathering the bird back up, she got blood on the bird, and it was a white bird. So she wanted to bathe it. Well, you don't bathe a bird in a dog tub, but she wanted to do it. Can I please use your tub? I said, well, you can do it yourself, but I'm not going to do it. I don't want to be liable. And she said, that's fine. And she used
Stop
the
tapping.
tub. She used the tub with my huge, I mean, I have a commercial dog grooming tub with the big sprayer. She sprayed that little tiny bird with this heavy-duty sprayer, got it wet to the skin, which you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to spray them with a mister. I have bird books. I've got stuff, all magazines showing that you are supposed to mist a bird down or put them in a bird bath, which is an inch or two of water, and let them spray themselves and then preen. She didn't believe me, whatever. She was just very persistent on the fact that she was going to wash her bird. So she washed her bird. Then I gave her a towel to dry it with. I walked out of the room because I had company, and I heard the kennel dryer turn on.
She's nuts.
Whatever.
This girl,
I
nuts.
told you.
Off the wall.
I told you.
I'll shut up.
Good.
Judge Judy continues. Sheila Carter says pet groomer Lori Whitman clipped her bird's nails, causing it to bleed to death. Lori says she warned Sheila she had no experience with birds.
Go ahead.
So then I ran in and took the bird out and wrapped it in a towel. And I said, you have to keep this bird wrapped in a towel. It's going to be cold going home, but get it home, put it in a cage, cover the cage so that it reduces the bird's stress. at that point she said, no, I don't need to do that. And she took the towel off and left it there. I said, Sheila, keep the towel. You can have the towel. I don't care. Just, you know, keep the bird wrapped in a towel because it will get cold. She left my house with her windows rolled down about this far. And for a draft of
What did I drive, honey?
You drove
What
a truck.
vehicle?
Miss
A
Carter,
pickup truck.
one more time,
Okay,
and you're
I'll
out of
shut
here.
up.
I'm telling you.
I know.
No. Listen to me.
I
Look
know.
at me. One more time, you're dismissed and out of here. Go ahead.
So she left with the windows down, and I turned to my company and I said, that bird's not going to live. She left without a towel wrapped around it. It was cold. It was the 1st of April in Minnesota. And she left with that bird not wrapped up in a towel. It was wet to the bone. And if you expose a bird to high or fluctuations in temperature, it can cause severe shock and even death. And I'm almost positive that that's what the bird died from. I don't think it bled to death because it would have died immediately instead of dying 40 minutes later. It was fine until she put it in the tub and then in the dryer. And that was just ridiculous.
Let me see if I can draw you an analogy. Can you imagine taking your father to a doctor? Let's say a doctor who was a podiatrist, takes care of feet.
Yeah.
And said he needs surgery, bypass surgery. The podiatrist said, I've never done that before. And you said, well, we're here already. Are you following where I'm going?
I see where you're going.
Just do me this favor. I have real confidence in you. You know more about medicine than I do, so just take care of it. Isn't that what you did?
In a way, yes, I did. But I did
Yes, you
not
did.
portray myself as knowing anything about the bird.
You don't,
told
just
her
a
I didn't-
second. You don't have to. Podiatrist doesn't say I know anything about hearts. That's what you did with this bird, according to you. I'm taking your scenario as true. I think that there's a mix of both in what these two stories are. I do believe you said to her, I don't cut birds' nails. I'm a dog groomer. And I do believe she said to you, yeah, but I'm here and the bird's nails need to be cut. Come on, we'll do it together. You didn't want to do it. She twisted your arm.
I was trying to be nice.
My bird.
Shh. Oh, you were almost out. You almost did it. She took the bird to you because you are a groomer. Her head, you groom dogs, you cut their nails, you can groom birds and cut their nails. So she took the dog to you because of your, in her mind, expertise. And all you had to do was say no.
I did.
But you did it. That was wrong. That was wrong. People have the ability to say no and mean it. No, I'm sorry, Sheila. I don't do that. As much as I like you, you have to take the bird someplace else. End of conversation. Come to my lingerie party. We'll have a good time. So as nice a lady as you are responsible for the death of this bird. Judgment for the plaintiff and the amount of the request, which is $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I do hope that if she does get another bird, she'll at least educate herself on how to take care of it.
I am so happy of the verdict. I won my Misty Blue. I love my Misty Blue.
And now the next case.
All parties on Brownback versus Winters. Step forward.
73-year-old Roberta Bromback is suing homemaker Barbara Winters for a fender bender in the parking lot of a Goodwill. Barbara says she never hit her.
Miss Bromback, according to your complaint, the defendant hit the bumper of your car.
Yes, ma'am.
And damaged it. You want her to pay for the damage.
Yes.
She says she did nothing. And she, in addition, fled the scene, according to you.
Yes.
When did this incident occur?
I think it was on the 8th or 9th of September.
Where?
I had a lady with me, a friend of mine, who is blind from a stroke, and we were giving some stuff to the Goodwill. We were parked in behind the Goodwill, and I was putting her back in my car. All of a sudden, my car reared up. She was very frightened, and I turned around, and I looked, and I said to her, hey, she was moving. After she straightened out her car, I said, you hit my car. She stopped, looked at me, and went like this. Well, I got angry at this, and I dropped the wheelchair, and I got her license number, and I turned her into the police station as a hit and run.
Do you have a copy of that report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
That's where the police called me to identify her. And these are appraisals. These are pictures.
Okay, so what did you do after you got the information from the police department?
I was told I had to go down to the police station, and she told me that I had to identify her. Well, I went in. She had 6 pictures, And immediately I said, it's number 1. And she said, are you sure? I said, yes. And she said, well, that's her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was afraid if I got out, she might get violent or something. Well, she's waving around and yelling.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 73-year-old Roberta Brombeck is accusing Barbara Winters of hit and run. Roberta says Barbara backed into her car and fled the scene.
Go ahead. Then she gave me that paper you have and said for me to call her and see if she wanted to settle this in a civil manner. I called her and I asked her. She told me she didn't know what I was talking about. She's sick. She went on. And I said, well, ma'am, I'll call you later date. Then I called her again. Then she said, I want your phone number, your car license, what kind of car you got, and where you live. I said, fine. I'll be glad to give it to you. And then from there, she didn't want to pay me, so I filed small claims on her.
Okay. Miss Winters, September 8th, in the parking lot, right outside of Goodwill. You were there?
Yes, I was.
Okay. What kind of car were you driving?
A Mercedes 300D, a burgundy color car.
And tell me about what your recollection is of the incident that involved the plaintiff's car.
Okay, I had dropped some stuff off at the charity, and I'm quite familiar with this place because I often take things to the charity. And I was backing up, and all of a sudden I hear somebody banging on the back of my car and yelling and acting crazy. She said something about, you touched my car. And I was a little scared because when people start to act crazy like this, I get worried because we had an incident at one time where my husband, the back of his car was touched. He was parked, and the people came out and said, look, come check the back of your car. And he did. And when he gets back into his car, and he found out that his briefcase had been stolen. So you
didn't think this little old lady is going to steal your briefcase?
I didn't really know.
You don't mind if I say that. You know what I mean.
You're right.
You know what I mean. She's not going to steal your property.
I did not
act crazy.
Right.
Anyway, I've had a few unpleasant experiences like this.
So you left.
So I left, and I did not do this. I think I maybe did this. In other words, calm down. It's okay. But I did not feel that I had touched her car. And I was afraid if I got out, she might get violent or something. I didn't see anybody. Well, she's waving around and yelling. So.
All right, so you're contacted by the plaintiff sometime later. Is that right?
Yeah, I got a letter from the police department, actually.
Okay, and what did you do?
I thought, oh, I wonder if it was that little thing where that lady banged on the back of my car. And I looked at the back of my car, and I saw no indication of any bumping or anything. I have a rubberized kind of a car. And there's no way that the damage that I've been accused of could have happened. So I went to the police department, and the detective interviewed me, and we took a look at the back of my car, and she said, no, I don't see any evidence of any damage to the back of your car. And I do have a statement actually from her, and I do have some pictures of my car.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, and then I have the pictures, and I think I'll show you the pictures. One is the rear bumper of my car, which you will see has no contours on it. There's no metal. And then there's a picture of her car, and there's a picture of the scrapes to her car, which look like they could be taken care of with a spray can, because there's no dents on her car.
You drive a Buick Century?
Yes, Your Honor. I gave her my home address, my license number of my car, in good faith. Last Sunday, this lady came to my house. The neighbor upstairs saw her. She took her Mercedes, bumper to bumper, hit me again to take pictures.
No, she didn't hit you. What she did was listen to me. She didn't hit your car. What she did was she put bumper to bumper
right.
to see if there was a place.
Just, you know.
Whatever. Listen, she's entitled to do that. That's a very smart thing to do. She said, if I'm being accused of something, I want to see if it's possible.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Look, Miss Winters, there isn't a question in my mind that this lady is not crazy and that there were no marks on her car beforehand. She acted responsibly and immediately by going to the police because you took off. You took off, according to you, because you were afraid that she was crazy and that she might do something like steal your briefcase, steal your property, do something else. So you decided not to confront the situation immediately by getting out of your car and going to look in the back and say, listen, let me see the damage you claim that I did, which would have resolved this whole dispute. If you had stopped immediately, gotten out of your car, I assume you have a cell phone, right? If you're afraid of her, you say, just a minute, I'm not getting out of my car, I'm calling the police. We'll wait for the police to arrive. Possibility?
Possibility.
But you decided not to do that. You just decided to take off. You owe her $410 for the repairs to her car. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.